All right, Sam, welcome to AFTERBLAST. Thank you for following up with me on our first interview we did for White Centipede Noise Podcast several months ago. I'm forgetting when, but it was a good while ago. And yeah, appreciate you sitting down with me again to answer more questions and tell more.
It's awesome to be back. These have been like crazy. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Crazy as in, like, the whole spectrum of them has just been like turned into like a phenomenon suddenly. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Thanks. What kind of response have you gotten from the episode? Has there been any sort of like effect or reaction, just out of curiosity, from people?
Close friends hilariously just kept joking about how they didn't realize I was that smart. I don't know, but I thought I just came across as like a swearing sailor through the whole thing, but yeah, that's just joking around and all that kind of shit. But I mean, in my universe, not a lot of craziness. I mean, I think I joked with you that my merch sales fucking went crazy. Did they? Good. Which I guess is the point of all this kind of shit. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Weird way. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, that's true. I love, you know, it's for me, it's, you know, obviously all about the ideas and all that kind of stuff. But if it can spread the ideas merch wise and everything, then, you know. That is cool. I try to be more I wish I could be more conscious of that, because it's like, it's definitely best to team it up with like a time when someone's just releasing something, or like, you know, like that. And I guess that is how it works in the podcast world. I'm kind of naive to it, because like when I'm like, I don't know, like on random music podcasts, I'm like, oh, this guy's like on his podcasts right now. Like, that's kind of random. Yeah. Like, he's on 6 different podcasts in like a week. Wonder why that is. And it's like, oh, because he's got a new album out. Like, of course, like it's it's a market. You know, it's like it's one of those things too, where it's just like, I mean, fortunately, I've had the opportunity to be able to pontificate lots about what I do and my ideas and all that kind of shit, and then to be able to like do it, you know, with a moving face or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I was just getting tons of the usual like, oh, I had no idea that was his. It was like after that documentary, the Tights Worship documentary, it was like, right. You know, a lot of it was like, oh fuck, like I thought he just turned his gear on and let it, you know, like I didn't know he did all that other shit, you know. And then this interview was even more of that. So it was just like, you know, like people like, oh fuck, like I didn't know he thinks about shit like that, you know what I mean? So I think that's ultimately what is helpful. But then it's more like, oh fuck, maybe I should check out the Gamzati CD or whatever. You know? Right, like, right. Made it for sure. You know? Like, I didn't know. Yeah, it's good because I mean, it's like, oh, that's why he makes the big bucks, so to speak. Like that's why, you know, that for everyone, it's like I obviously don't make the big buck, but of course, but figuratively speaking, but it's helpful. Like with any of these interviews, you know, like I think during all of this, you've made a lot of those newer guys into a cult, like a cult following already, and I think it's because of these podcasts. You know, like Star and Fuchs, like all that. Those guys, you know, and Will and everything. Yeah. I think the way that I'm hearing, I mean, I'm not deep in it, but the way that I'm hearing conversations around those guys now, and I think it's because of this fucking podcast. Yeah, I don't know if it's that culminated with like people like the material, but it's just like, how come every fucking second podcast with Oscar, those 5 names come up? You know, and it's like, and then you hear it, and then you're just like, oh, that's why, Jesus Christ, you know, like, yeah. And I think, I don't know, it's obviously, I don't know, that's just my take from this podcast so far. You can build little cult following, because I don't think a lot of people would be like, if they didn't know, you know, like Will's interview was fucking Will, like, yeah. You know, like a lot of people haven't met Will, you know, and it's like, and they're like, what is that guy's deal? You know, like yeah, I want to listen to what the fuck that guy makes, because you're not putting a lot of samples up of the work, right? You know? So, which I think is a good thing too, in a weird way. It forces people to find it, but Yeah, I think that's a good example, you know. And then
I think it's true, but I do think with the situation, the case that you're talking about, like the Star, Robert Fuchs, etc. kind of thing, I think they had their own kind of thing, and
you froze a bit.
I would say cult well before then. And I mean, I've even asked. I mean, I'm in regular contact with Star, but he's refused to be on. He's declined to be on it already. So I mean, for example, I think in general, I think it does help people just, you know, be aware of artists and remember certain artists too. Like, oh shit, that dude's shit was awesome. I remember that dude. I haven't seen him or heard from him in a while. And like, and that's the goal. I mean, that's the goal. So that's cool. So I guess now getting to you and some of the other things that you do. A little bird told me that you're also like heavily into skiing. I know you're into skateboarding, that you're also into skiing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a poser to say that I do it enough, but I grew up. My parents, I was lucky enough growing up that my parents had a ski cabin, so
nice.
So we were up at the ski hill like every weekend. So all the way up till I was like early adulthood, yeah, because we always had cabins around. Anyways. So I almost treated skiing, because we also grew up on a lake, so I water skied a lot too, like cool. A lot, and I got pretty fucking good at that too, like slalom skiing. But of course, Mike, my brother Mike and I thought of it more as like almost utilitarian, because this is just what we this is what we do because we live on the lake. Yeah. This is what we do because we're at the ski hill, you know. But yeah. So, but Mike got really good at snowboarding, and then I got like crazy fucking good at skiing, and then got really, really used to being really fucking scared a lot, you know? So, you know, we would go to other mountains and we'd hike all those chutes and couloirs and all that kind of stuff. And just get ourselves in trouble like all the fucking time. Like it was crazy. And it was neat because a while ago my brother had a stag, and he thought it'd be hilarious if a bunch of all of our original guys from back in those days went up and spent a week, like a straight edge stag. So we spent a week up at the original ski hill. Wow. And since then, like the one that we grew up at, and since then, our good friends that also had a cabin up there basically own half of it now, like own one of the hotels and like own like one of the bars. So that made the trip really easy, but it was funny as hell. I think it's on Instagram, but I just said there was like this one cliff called Attridge Cliff, and every year throughout the year it'd be different sizes based on the amount of snow and everything like that. But it was a good like 25, 30 foot cliff. I don't know, it was pretty big, but it would change like all the time. But anyways, that was like kind of like from little kids, not little kids, but that was like our go-to, like, okay, we're going to fucking Attridge Cliff. Like it's on this super steep part of the mountain, and then it's got this cliff like carved out of it, and it's got this really sketchy entrance and all this kind of shit. But anyways, so I thought it'd be hilarious to just be like, I don't even want to warm up when we get to the stag. I want to like just go to Attridge Cliff on the first day. And I just did. And Mike and them were like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, no, dude, we got to go full bore, man. Like we're going straight to, and we're like, it was hilarious because we got off on this one lift and we forgot that you have to like hike. And we're all just standing at the top of the hill, just like, oh God, like, you know, it's like early and super and whatever. And we're just like, anyway, so we're a little bit of an argument about where it is. We're like, no, it's over there. Anyways, so then we finally find it, and then Mike and this other good friend of ours, George, who's also a filmmaker and like a ex-pro skateboarder, they just got their camera phones out instantly, and they're just like, fuck it, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it, and then like, yeah, and then there's a video of it on Instagram, and I just ate shit, like super bad. I hit this little tree and took it out and like brought it down the hill with me, and oh my God. But it was so awesome. And then the rest of the trip, I was like kind of fucked up. But that's kind of my style, though, too. I'll just do something super dumb at the starting. But yeah, it was cool. And then we went back and did it again. That was the best. And I ate shit even harder.
Wow.
But anyways.
But so skiing is like extra dangerous, though, right? You can die from that shit pretty easily.
Oh, yeah,
right?
because what was neat was that near the end of the trip, my brother and I were like, because I was just addicted, because my whole deal is I want to be on something so fucking steep that I can only step turn. Like I can't actually like ski, you know, or jump turn. So anyway, Mike and I, by the end of the trip, we were, we're finally just like looking at the maps and stuff. And we're like, oh fuck, let's go back here. I know that this run is super sketchy, and then because years ago, the ski mountain that we grew up at, Silver Star, opened up the back of the mountain about halfway through us growing up there. And that opened up a whole sketchy world of just like, you can see the whole run, like through the tips of your skis and all this kind of shit. And then, so we went there, and then I remember just being like, we're doing it, and and I was like proud of myself. I'm like, fuck, it's been over 20 years, and I can just do this still, like riding a bike. But yeah. Anyways, about halfway down the hill, I'm just like, oh my god, I forgot how invigorating it is to be scared, like to like sincerely be fucking scared. Like if you fuck up one turn, you roll for like hundreds and hundreds of feet to the bottom, you know what I mean? And then, so when I got home, I was just like, okay, I'm old enough now that I just want to really get into this hard. So over the last year, I've been kind of buying all the gear slowly, so I can just do the backcountry hiking and all that kind of stuff, but more in like the spring and summer and everything. So I've already got all these maps and charts and everything of all these like sketchy ass spots I want to hit, and just doing tons of homework, but so hopefully I get off my ass in this year. I know that my brother and I want to go up to a mountain this winter, because I found a couple of runs up there that you have to hike up to that look scary as fuck. Like just not cool. But
damn.
I want to fucking do them. I mean, it's just like when you're perched up there and you're just kind of like your feet are like this, and you're just sliding, and I don't know. It's just, I guess it's like a 50-degree angle, like 45, 50-degree angle.
Okay.
What we're aiming for all the time. And then the guys that are like really fucked up in France and everything, they can get up to like 60. Can't remember, but
Jesus.
But anyways, yeah, it's just the best thing ever. I remember once, like, I wasn't even that young. I must have been like 19, 20, and I remember being up at Red Mountain, and there's some couloirs up there, like chutes that you have to hike up to, and I remember just like, I don't know how many, sorry, stupid weekly update. Anyways, I don't know how many people get to experience like being like, I remember making it halfway down the chute, and no one else wanted to come with me, so they all just kind of went down ahead, and the chute had a corner, and I'm just kind of like, I knew people skied this thing, but you couldn't see through the corner because it's about all the rocks on each side. And both of my tips of my skis are dragging down the rocks, like on each side. And then I'm just like, and then it turned out that the corner was actually another little cliff before it turned into the chute again. And I remember just being there and just being like stuck. And just being like, okay, I finally fucked myself. Like I know what it's like. Do you think you're
going to die or something, or?
No, not die, but like, how am I going to fucking get out of this and not roll down a hill for 1,000 feet? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. For some dumb reason, I never think about death, but it's just like, I've been in horrific, like, motorbike accidents and traffic and all that kind of shit. So I know what it's like to like, but I don't know, because of skateboarding, just being hurt, and BMXing and skateboarding, just being hurt repeatedly. Mm-hmm. Like, luckily, I've never had an injury that put me in the hospital for months or whatever. But it's just like, I think you get so used to it that you're like, you're going to walk away from it, But
right.
Anyway, yeah, it's just, and then, but when I was back during the stag, I was like, like old man moment, just sitting halfway down one of the runs and just like contemplating life and shit. and you're like, and you're just like I need this fear in me a few times a year, and it just seems like skiing's the easiest way to get yourself in a lot of trouble, real trouble.
Yeah.
Where it's a little harder with skateboarding and BMX. I mean, you can do it, but it just seems when you've got like the alpine environment and no one can save you, and it's and all that kind of shit. But when you're at a skate park and you're dropping in on some 12-foot ramp and you know how to do it, it's fine. And if you get fucked up, an ambulance is going to be there in 5 minutes, right? But it's like, anyways, I don't know. It was just cool. So I mean, I'm not going to say I ski all the time because I don't, but I did ski for every fucking weekend for 20 years, and it was like, and I want to get and the stag was hilarious as fuck, and and it just kind of triggered me to be like, I'm just hoping that in the next few years people are going to start seeing weird little pictures popping up of me in a lot of trouble. Anyway.
Do you wear like the Rita patches or anything like that, or any like identifying?
Seriously, if you watch when we went up for that stag, it was like almost spring, so the snow was still really good, but the weather was getting a little warmer. So I just fully wore a flannel jacket with a big skull skate patch on the back.
So you look like you.
Yeah, I looked like I was, but back in the day when we skied that mountain. Like, if you were the guys just doing jumps all fucking day and, like, launching cliffs and shit, you all skated you all dressed like a Rat Pack, You weren't wearing all the expensive gear and shit. You were wearing, and the best was when, because I was young enough that there was tons of headbangers around, right? And a lot of the headbangers I grew up with in the Okanagan were good at skiing. And they would just rock it. Some nights when we'd all get on a bus after school and go night skiing, which was a huge thing too.
Cool.
Making out with girls all night in the bus. It was fucking the best. But anyways, on the ski lifts and shit. Like Hot Dog the movie, but real. But anyways, those guys would just rock jeans and a flannel jacket. It was badass jean jackets and shit. But that was their steez. People joke about it, but it was real. I don't know. So anyway, so I was just kind of when we went on this trip, Mike, fortunately, he's had so many, he can't go anywhere without getting stuff for free, no matter what the industry is, it seems. But
sure.
So he was all decked out on all the latest and greatest shit. And then I was just wearing, I think I was wearing my ski pants from the day, which was sick. Yeah,
wow.
And then a flannel jacket with a big skull skate back patch.
Dude, that'd be sick if you really started if you really started doing it and kind of in a, not a performative way, but in a way where you were stepping out and it was the Rita, you kind of in the similar way to the way the Bear Cult guys skate. They make it an event and they aestheticize it very much.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. I've already kind of hinted about it a little bit because I just did that tape for Taylor. Her shell the shoot.
Yes.
And I've been getting my hands on a lot of really specialized backcountry gear that's made for hiking. So the soles of the boots are softer and they move like a boot. Anyway, so I was using all those to kind of just do and I've just been reading about tons of fucking deaths on the mountain and women's deaths on the mountains and just all these tragedies and stuff. And then but equating it with and then obviously pulling women's boot fitting is a giant deal, right? Mm-hmm. So and then of course equating that with ballet point shoe fitting and there's 8 million videos online of how you fit a woman's foot with a ski boot, which is even gnarlier than a point shoe. It's just every little thing and pad and foam they can add to their feet, and it's just and their arch and their calf and everything, and then it always, and a lot of that always kind of ends up in the romantic, not in a positive way obviously, but the romantic idea of tragedy, Mm-hmm. So it's and then you would equate that with ballet and point and injury and all this kind of stuff. So, and then, things that I've experienced, hands-on. But right away, I'm just like, okay, I want to get into this. So yeah, so all of those sounds were all just like mic'd gear, moving, flexing,
killer,
and everything. But yeah, of course, it'd be amazing as fuck to like, just
document it.
So yeah, bring some sort of recording equipment up there and everything. So like, especially if I'm just, because, everywhere that I want to go is just going to be hard packed ice, snow, and rock and all that kind of shit. So I don't want to get into like tons of the avalanche training and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, but also
I'm getting great sound sources from that, really, from your own.
Totally insane. But it's just like,
that would be amazing.
I've already kind of messed with it a little bit from just people's videos online, because there's obviously tons of videos with a lot of the skiing videos, some of them are really smart, where it's like, if they want to portray what it's like to be on the verge of death going down some couloir in France, they just won't put music on it or anything. And then you get almost like a complete POV of some guy sponsored by Solomon or whatever that's just doing some shoot that no one's done yet,
Yeah.
And all those sounds are incredible. Like all the breathing and the...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone's doing GoPro recordings nowadays, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. That's what it'd be. But I mean, but it gets weird though. It's like but then there's this whole other side of it where I've got all these friends that are getting older, and and you probably understand this, but it gets to the point where it's just like, can you fucking do anything in your life without documenting it, dude?
They ask you that, or you think that about them?
No, me. It's like me. It's like you'll be on fucking social media, and you'll just be like, it gets to, well, because I don't really go on Instagram anymore. I just want to kind of treat it officially like a flyer.
Yeah. And
if people really know me well and they're good, close friends, they'll just email me or fucking call my phone, but it just gets embarrassing. It's kind of like to the point where you're like, okay, a lot of my ex-skateboard friends are into doing other activities now, right? Like bicycle touring or motorbiking and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, but it gets to the point where it's like, would you even do it if you weren't documenting it?
Sure. Yeah.
Like to the where like, dude, I dare you to fucking do a whole year of all of your new interests without documenting it.
Yeah.
It is. So right away when I'm just kind of like, I'm like, oh, I want to do all this skiing stuff. And it's just like, and then right away I'm like, oh yeah, I'll fucking take a picture at the top of the hill and all this kind of, but then it's just like, well, who are you doing it for?
Right.
It's one of those weird things.
I understand that, but I think there's a difference between documenting it like, hey, look what I'm doing, guys, and documenting it in the sense of like recording sound source for your work.
Yeah, and like nuance and all. I mean, there is a lot of nuance there, but I guess it's just now I've got all this kind of like, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I love the aesthetic. A lot of those weird little spots, right? So, and then, but yeah, it's just hilarious how as you get older, you're just kind of like, why the fuck are you doing this if it's not for yourself?
Right. Yeah, it's a really strange time we're in. I don't know. Yeah. That's a really.
But it's like, and it just gets to the point where it's like, are people doing anything with it? But I think that because it gets, and again, I'm not guilty of it too, but it's all of us are, I guess. But it's like when it gets to the point where it's, if everything you fucking do is always in the back of your head, it's going to be documented. It's going to be like you're on a reality TV show.
Yeah, and
it's like that old argument where you're watching like a Frederick Wiseman documentary, and you're just kind of like, this is the closest fucking thing to real documentary you're ever going to see. Total fly on the wall and everything. But even that 10% of consciousness of somebody watching, knowing that they're being filmed by Wiseman and his crew, it's like, you're going to be a weirdo.
Yeah,
you're not going to be 100% natural,
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it curates, everyone then curates their everything so much heavier and censors themselves so much heavier just in terms of editing how they're behaving or what they do. And I mean, also nowadays concerts, everyone has their phone out. Everyone's watching.
Yeah, those pictures of the phone, like the phones in the crowd, and it's just like completely.
It's super insane. I don't know. It's really strange. It's really bizarre. But
it's like you're not there unless you've filmed it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you imagine, then you look at the crowd during Queen at Live 8 or something, and you're just like, there's not one fucking phone, you know? Like
exactly.
Like, what was that?
That's insane.
What was that mentality, you know?
I know. And how many people, you know, dip off Instagram for a minute and then come back on. They're like, I'm done with you know, all this stuff is like, it's got a hold on people fully on their subconscious, you know, like this whole addiction and performance through these platforms. It's I don't think it's not good for sure.
Yeah. I think it's just, I mean, again, we're all guilty of it, right? I mean, like, the Rita is completely fucking, you know, like I mean, it's like what you said, like with all of our labels and everything, it's curated to fuck.
Yeah.
Know? So it's like, we're all guilty of it in different levels, but yeah, it just gets to the point where it's just like, if your whole fucking life is dictated by how it's going to be eventually portrayed, that's always going to be in the back of your head.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe just go skiing. Just go skiing and leave the shit at home.
Well, I know. I mean, it's funny. And then you hear about, and that's the other thing is that you know, I've got tons of fucking colleagues and friends and shit that are like always up to like really fucked up shit that you wouldn't know about unless they came in and small talked about it at the store, you know, like, you know, like what? Like, remember one of the best stories I heard was, there's an incredible documentary about steep skiing that came out recently called Steep. Mm-hmm. And one of the characters dies during it. Like, it's fucking insane. But anyways, So anyway, so the first like eighth of the documentary is the story of the first guy in Jackson Hole that climbed. My brain just turned off. I can't remember the name of the mountain. But anyways, he climbed He climbed this famous mountain that no one's ever skied. And the whole first like eighth of the documentary is just like, this was the first dude to do something like this. Like he went up there with a couple of friends. A couple of the friends halfway up were like, no, dude, let's not do this. And then he was like, no, I'm going to keep going. And he hiked to the top of the mountain. And then I guess there was this massive avalanche, and the friends just watched the avalanche go by, and they're like, oh, there's our friend, you know, like dead. And they're all mountain climbers and shit, so they're all really used to death, you know? So they're just kind of like, eh. But anyways, I guess, and then he kind of skied up to them right after that and just kind of rolled up, and they're like, oh, shit. Like, you did it. And he's like, yeah, it's crazy. I did it. Anyways, and then I guess they were so fucked up by it that they got another friend of theirs, you know, back in the day when you just had a friend that could fly an airplane. They flew an airplane up to take a picture of the ski tracks down the mountain, right? But they made it out to be like this, you know, the craziest fucking thing that's ever been achieved by a human, right? And then I watched a couple of other things online of people that still do that mountain. You know, now it's almost like a semi-regular thing where people do it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's still a fucking day and just insane. But anyways, one of the characters on the Steep documentary, who's like cult as fuck. Like, he brought skiing to Alaska, and he's just same thing. Like, he's just addicted to. He says he's addicted to gravitational pull. Like, anyways, and everything he skis has to be 50 degrees, or else he just won't ski.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess during the commentary on the documentary, one of the guests doing the commentary were just like, yeah, I was just at a K2 or some sort of an industry meet recently, and we all met at the convention center at noon, and it was in Jackson Hole or whatever, and dude did that in the morning, that mountain. And they're like, "Oh, hey man, what's up? Did you sleep in? Did you have a good sleep this morning?" His name's Doug Coombs.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Oh, I just did the got up really early and did the thing this morning. And they were like, what? You know, like, just shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, he probably didn't take any pictures.
Yeah.
Just did it.
I respect that. I respect that too. But you know what? Not everyone is an artist, and you're an artist, so that makes the difference, I think. You're an artist who transfers experience and ideas into some sort of product, and most people don't do that. Most people are just, I think there's a difference between that and then documenting it just to be like, hey, everyone, look what I did.
I mean, what's ironic about that too, though, is that if it's just like, oh, did you hear that there's a sound artist in BC that's making albums about skiing sounds, you know, everyone would be like, oh my God, it must be like majestic, wow,
yeah.
And like the Alpine and the vistas and la 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 and all this kind of shit. And they hear it and it's just like, you know, like what I want from it, you know, and then it's like, so I like that part.
Yeah.
because it's very incredibly personal, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
So, like,
that's
the sound of powder, you know, like just great, you know, like we talked about last time. You know, there's obviously people that'll come back from some powder run just talking about the sound of it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
They have no interest in sound art at all. You know?
Right.
But yeah, anyways, I do know what you mean, and I think I'm lucky enough that I can like portray through various labels the way that I want to pull something apart really personally, you know?
Yeah. What about, so talk more about fear, because you seem to be very motivated by fear in general.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like everything. I mean, people still laugh. Like my boss, PD, laughs all the time. He's like, whenever we go on some sort of like skate trip or anything, it's like, it's always classic that I'll be the first one that gets fucked up because I'll do something totally, I'll just forget that I'm 49 years old, you know, and I'll be like, and then even my brother, I remember we were at some demo kind of recently, and we're just kind of like picking out what spots we want to film at, and it's a brand new skate park, and there's this giant like 9-10 foot bowl in the corner, and my brother could see me roll up to the to the edge of it, and almost like a parent, he just yelled out, "No!" Because he knew that we had to get other shit done, you know, but it was because I knew, I was like, oh yeah, I could deal with this, you know, but yeah, I knew I'd probably just get fucked up, like totally served, you know, but anyways.
But what about your attraction to like art and certain types of art or literature or film, like that the fear or danger seems to play.
Yeah, I think it's
or artists, you know, artists you're attracted to.
Everything always has to be not even edgy though. Like everything always has to be like it's funny you bring that up because I've never really thought about it. I mean, well, I have. I mean, people have told me, you know, but it's just like you always. Again, it goes back to that documentary where it's just like, you know, a few documentaries where you don't. There's one guy in France that said you don't purely feel alive until everything is outside of your head when you're concentrating, because when you know that one action is either going to put you in the hospital or it'll achieve your goal, you know? So it's just like one guy, the one good quote on that Steep documentary, he says that when I'm doing like a fucked up run or something, so all I'm thinking about is turning. I'm not thinking about anything else, you know? And it's just like, and again, it's like when you're perched up on a 12-foot vert ramp or something and you're about to drop in, like you're not thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
And when you're sitting in the car after something like that, and then all of the other things you're supposed to be thinking about start creeping back into your head. I hope most of the population of the world gets to experience that, you know, like, be it whatever they do, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's why, you know, people jog and do physical activity because it clears the head. But there is those crazy fucked up moments where it's just like, like I mean, again, I've been in like a few kind of horrific motorbike accidents, like T-boned a taxi with my ex-girlfriend on the back, and you know, flew like 50 feet down the road, like rolling and everything. And that fucking moment where you strike and then fly and then go into like skateboard and BMX mode where you're judo rolling, or like ski mode when you're rolling down a hill. Like that moment is just like, you know, it's like, and that's a pretty intense moment to like try to relive when you're not, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I guess in a weird way, things like that get addictive, you know, just being like, it's just getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Right. But for me, I guess it'd be mostly through like physical means, you know? Yeah. But I know what you mean. It feels like, but again, I don't want to sound like some edgy fucking extreme sports dude or whatever, but it's just, but that's the thing, you know? It's like, yeah, for sure. And I guess, I mean, that probably largely correlates with people who grow up in societies where they're relatively safe, you know, where there are probably people who do experience that kind of like danger on an extreme level, but then they're not seeking it then after that, because like it's war, it's, you know, it's daily life, and then, but oh yeah, I mean, then there's that part where it's just like you're forced into a situation like war or whatever, or like a mugging or whatever, right? Where it's like, but I mean, it could also be because I've never drank or done drugs in my life ever, you know. Sure. So it's like, and I grew up in the woods. I had this amazing life growing up in the woods. Yeah, like an hour out of town on a dirt road, and like so. But we had this incredible like water skiing and cliff jumping and lake culture and like BMXing, and so everything in my life was just like, how far can I push this before I really fuck myself up? You know, that's cool. So when your whole life is based on that, you know, and then on top of that, good old 1980s high school, which, you know, is fucking very violent. You know, like, I mean, it's not like school isn't violent now, but it's just, but, you know, so, you know, there was still like skateboarder versus headbanger wars and shit. Sure. You know, you had to deal with that too. So it's just like, but yeah, I don't know, that might be a part of this, but it gets addictive, you know. It's like what I told you, like going all the way back now. It's like when I was perched halfway down that run during my brother's thing, I was like, I forgot how much I fucking need this. Yeah. You know, like I really fucking need to be scared. Sounds weird. Is there any direct correlation for you between that feeling and what you experience from harsh noise? Yeah, definitely. I mean, that would be like the thing that all of us initially got out of harsh noise, especially, would be like that massive fucking thunderous cracking tectonic plate, you know, just like getting your mind blown by just extreme sound or whatever, right? So yeah, that definitely, you know, like, because like I talked about in the last thing, it's just like everything had to be like absolutes for me constantly. So I don't know if that was my obsessive tendencies or compulsive tendencies, but it's just like, yeah. And I also, but what's neat for me is that I also think about the way that I deconstruct and contemplate sound now is just a further example of that, where it's like pushing, like how much can you like kind of stare into the abyss of these cracks and crevices, and before it starts staring back, you know, like all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's still very much like thunderous, cracking, harsh noise. It's just, you know, it's just been like really pulled apart and dug into. Do you think you are as absolute as you could be with your harsh noise? Because I know what you're saying. You know, when I hear, for example, like there's I'm just today listening to this Mon de Brie. I don't know how to say it
proper pronunciation, but the new box set of the
Montbrouillet.
Yeah, Montbrouillet box that came out, and it's like, it's like the 4 tapes or whatever. It's fucking amazing, but it's like it feels like it's like really kitchen sink harsh noise where it's like everything.
Yeah, Montbrouillet is amazing.
But get thrown in there, but like you're going obviously in a very, very, very reduced and absolute direction, but can it ever be too absolute, or are you absolute enough for yourself? I mean, are you still like not quite there? Have you not quite reached that absolute that you?
Well, it's funny that you bring up. It's funny that you bring up Montbrouillet, because when you, or as some people pronounce it, Monde Bruits, but
that's how I pronounce it for a long time.
But I might be. Yeah, there it is. Fuck yeah! I still have all those tapes from recorded for me by TADM. It's pretty fun.
Oh, cool.
But I'm a total poser. I don't even know what's on that box set, but I'm guessing it's all those tapes that Saudi made me years ago.
It's Irresponsibility, Portuguese Man of War, Purgatory, Psychosomatic Performance, and some unreleased and live tracks and comp tracks.
Oh, so if you get that box set, you get Portuguese Man of War. Okay, so anyway, Portuguese Man of War.
Yeah.
When you first hear that, when you're getting into noise, that's one of the absolutes, right?
Yeah.
That's like... Yeah, I don't like. That's one of the ones I just keep blowing it, and I don't talk about it enough. But that's like, and luckily enough, I was able to just buy the tape from fucking wherever back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's but I think that's one of the ones that came out. Like, there's some crazy edition of it. I think you can just still buy the tape. But anyways, that was a very much an absolute. You know what I mean? But again, not to repeat what we talked about through the whole video last time, but it's. Portuguese Man of War was very much a completely insane, thunderous wall of harsh noise.
Yeah.
And back when you're experiencing all this, if you haven't heard Monthausen Orchestra yet, or you're just coming into it via Japan.
Right.
That's going to be your first,
yeah.
Can I deal with this? And then incapacitance and everything. But then I take all those same kind of, again, but for me, it was just kind of like, oh, I love it so much. Like,
yeah.
What happens when I vivisect it?
Yeah.
Am I going to love it just as much, Yeah. But I know what you mean. But then you get to those edges where you're just kind of like, well, how much can I pull this apart so it still entertains me? You know what I mean?
Right.
But then there's that thing that's talked about a lot where it's like the entertainment realm, and what entertains who and how much is needed to entertain.
Yeah.
And then so for me it was like so I know what you mean. I don't think I pushed it far enough. I think I'm still. It's such a hard thing to talk about because one angle you're going to look like this fucked up, edgy, like how far can I take it before it's an Ed Reinhardt painting of noise, But it's like
yeah, I mean, but really, like how, like you said,
but I mean that's the thing about me. It was like how much of a revelation it was when I started doing all those works over the last few years with more of just the Geiger counter type sound, like the. Mm-hmm. But then I'm even like I've talked to Josh Rose for years about how can we process just a giant singular and then rack and then nothing,
right?
And then massive 8-minute gaps and then this. Maybe I'm giving shit away of what I want to do in the future, but is a bullwhip going to be my next thing? But it's just but that's just like taking apart. But then luckily there's other people that are kind of coming for the same ride that want to hear that as well. But I mean, it's not like I don't appreciate all this other work people are doing, right?
Sure.
And of course, lots of minimalist sound artists and everything have just been doing this for eons, right? So it's nothing new at all. So it's just for me, it's just incredibly personal. I just want to do this. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's the one thing. Like when you hear a lot about recently about oh, you got to change it up. You got to have all these things in it. You got to, and it's just like, but if that's always in the back of your head, that can get really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
You know, because you know when we talk to colleagues a lot, and it's like, oh, I did this recording, but I wasn't happy with it, so I sat on it for a few years, you know, and then it's like, sometimes it can be scary where it's like, do you not like it because you don't think it's going to entertain people? Or do you not like it because you just personally don't like it? Which is what I think with most of us, the guys we hang out with, or, you know, no, I fucking didn't like it. I hated it. It sucked, you know, but but it gets to the point where you're kind of like, you know, when you're reading like a write-up for a new release, and it's literally like, oh, this is a masterpiece. It's a perfect amount of field recordings mixed with a perfect amount of junk noise, mixed with a perfect amount of whatever, mixed with a perfect amount of vocals and a perfect. And it's just like, it's like you fucking just made a pop album.
Yeah.
You know? And that can get creepy. You know what I mean? Like, so it depends on how much, but I mean, a lot of those, like, I don't know, power electronics, kind of like things that integrate as much as they fucking can to like keep things moving, to keep people interested, you know. And then you read reviews back in the day, and it's just like, you know, even Merzbow reviews. I remember a lot of the reviews back in the day were like, does this CD hold my attention good enough? Right. And I remember as a, you know, younger, reading reviews like that, and then you're getting into noise, and you want to do noise, and then suddenly you have it embedded in you a little bit subconsciously. Even, is this going to carry people's attention enough? You know, like this Merzbow CD was the best because it held my attention the longest. And I'm like, well, forever. I've just now, you know, that's dangerous fucking thinking.
Yeah.
You know, you're throwing like sincere creativity out and what you want to hear for what you think is going to hold people's attention. Right. I don't know.
But I think asking if it holds your own attention is the most important question, though, because sometimes things won't hold your own attention. Like sometimes I'll listen to something I record and be like, that's boring.
I think this is more advice for people that are getting into it. You know, because there's people that sincerely ask us, like, what, you know, and I'm always just like, dude, do exactly what you want to fucking hear, you know, and don't be scared of super fucking bad reviews. In harsh noise, the more fucking insane bad reviews you get, the more insane those bad reviews are, the more it's going to like, the more people are going to start focusing on that because you're doing something really, unless it's just bad, you know, but it's like, right. But if someone's doing something really fucking off the wall that's annoying the fuck out of people, you know?
Absolutely. Like, that's bigger than, I mean, boring is the biggest pitfall. Yeah. I don't mean boring in the sense that you've talked about, but I'm talking mediocre is, or mediocre is the biggest pitfall, I think, of harsh noise. I think if someone really has a big bone to pick with what you're doing, I think that's like a sign. Which is that scary part where it's like, if you're going to try to entertain so hard, you're going to end up just being mediocre. Yeah. Right? So the most entertaining bands in the world are the most mediocre, and it's not a coincidence. Right. The biggest fucking bands in the world are the most mediocre. Right. For sure. Yeah. That was actually a question I have for you, but you've kind of you've kind of given your answer, but what would you tell a new artist beginning harsh noise in terms of what to approach and how to think about things in terms of their own work, not in terms of getting it out or whatever, but just in terms of their own work? When people ask me about stuff or I watch them live and they'll ask me afterwards what I thought or whatever, it's always like, you know, I obviously just kind of throw my own taste out the window unless there's parts of it I really liked, you know, like, I wish you held that longer, or I wish you did more of that. But I always make sure I tell them, like, but that's just for me, you know, like, because you're going through this big PA, I love hearing that kind of shit. But anyways, when people ask, again, it's just like, don't
don't be scared to like, not even something as dumb and simple as thinking outside the box. Like, don't be scared to just focus on exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Because the famous quote that a lot of my colleagues and I use is people can smell sincerity from a mile away, you know, no matter what you're doing.
Right.
You know, so it's like, no matter how bad it is, you know, quote unquote bad.
Right.
It's like, if you're fucking doing it 110% out of like your own little personal interest, people are going to take note. And then what's good about that is you're not getting yourself all caught up in again, trying to entertain. So you're chasing more classic elements of harsh noise, but then you don't have to do something totally different, you know, like just do what you want to fucking hear, you know? And then if you can inject as much of your personal experience in that, I think that's the other thing that we've talked about. It's like people will, even if it's subconscious, they'll start noticing that there's something really intensely personal and based on interest and obsessions that's being translated through this work, no matter what you're doing. So just keep fucking doing it, you know? And don't be scared to shove shit down people's throats, you know? Like, just, again, like, it feels like I'm repeating stuff from the last one, but like Ad Reinhardt didn't just do one black painting.
Right.
And if he only did one, it wouldn't have been effective. Of the one, like, he did hundreds over, like, you know, years. Yeah. So I think that's also a big thing, you know, especially if you're doing it in kind of like a chaptered form. I don't know. But yeah, in this day and age, and don't get. I mean, as soon as you get caught up trying to entertain people, unless that's what you want, because that, you know, it's kind of easy just to, you know, do like an algorithm in your head of like how much synthesizer you want in one part, and then how much junk metal you want in this part, and then how much field recording you want in this part, you know, and then everyone will be fucking happy. Yeah. As long as they're 5 beers in and it's live and they're your buddies, you know. Right. Yeah. But anyways. Yeah, and then again, it's just I think the other thing is it's patience. You know, like, because when you operate in those kind of avenues, you got to be patient. Absolutely. Because someone might take a decade. After a decade, it's going to be like, have you fucking heard that kid that just does, like, I don't know, like works with feathers or something? He's been doing it for 10 fucking years. Yeah. Like, really? Yeah. Like, what do you mean? You know, like, yeah, like he's obsessed with fucking like DeVays or something, like, you know? Yeah. And then that's when it's like, what? Like, so, yeah. Yeah. And that's connected to authenticity. I think patience and authenticity go hand in hand. Yeah. Because you have to be dedicated to something long enough to do it. I mean, and the other thing is, it's obviously really good to have one foot in the sound art world, because it's almost like it's I don't want to say it, but it's almost like harsh noise people get really obsessed with keeping attention and entertainment, you know? But if you have one foot in the sound art world and you're really, really educated with like really minimal recording, like sound art recordings, it hits you like a ton of bricks that people are listening to this too, you know? But that's only for people. I mean, there's obviously tons of people that are in both worlds, but it's like, but if you're getting into it, you know, but you want to make shit that's really loud through massive PAs and hardcore, like make sure you're sounding to really minimalist, sparse, idea, you know, like sound art, so that I think it's because then you're not scared to know that world, that can exist. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I mean, when I was getting into harsh noise, I was lucky enough to be hanging out with, you know, like Kevin Rivard and Bo Robot and the Scratch Records people. So for every harsh noise record they were hooking me up with like a heavy, like, sound art, you know what I mean? So it's like, so you're listening to like both at once, so you know that you can don't ever be scared that people are going to be bored, I guess is coming back to, you know?
Yeah. And also kind of, I guess, looking at it in like you said, like an art or sound art context instead of like a punk rock context. Like,
yeah, that would be almost exactly it, you know?
Yeah.
And but knowing that, yeah, people are going to fucking remember you if you do 10 years worth of feather recordings and then suddenly play at some fest.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, and your merch table has 10 years worth of fucking tape box sets of feather recordings.
For sure. Yeah.
Feather thing just is the first thing that popped in my head, but it's that, you know, and I don't know if that could be me having dangerous thinking. That could be marketing. I don't know, but if it's sincere, again, people can smell sincerity from a mile away.
I think marketing is important as long as it's combined with sincerity.
You know, when you go to I can't remember if we already talked about this, but you know, when you go to a Harsh Noise show and you're with like friends that have never been to one, or like a new girlfriend that you're exposing all this to,
yeah,
it's fucking awesome. Like at the end of every night, they can tell you their 2 or 3 favorite acts and the acts that they thought sucked.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every time they do it, so like you or I, who've been to lots of shows, you agree. You're like,
they're right. Yeah, totally.
You're right. And it's just like, yeah, that guy, you know, like everyone thought that guy was good, but I thought he was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
He was like catering to the crowd and whatever. But that one dude, oh my God, what the fuck was he doing? You know, and they're 98% of the time, they're completely right.
Absolutely. That's very true.
Yeah. You know, it's just some like person doing some one-hit wonder fucking, I don't know,
gimmicky stuff with some weird performance.
Wrapped a cover track with some, I don't know, some cute outfit. And then you're like, and they're huge that, you know, they're the headliner that night, but in 2 years they're nowhere to be seen, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's all very true. Did you watch the episode yet with Stuart Skinner?
Yeah. I watched. Yeah. That was funny.
I want to know what you think about his thoughts, because about sound and particularly texture, because that was one really weird thing that like threw me for a loop, and I think a lot of people since then have been like, "What is he talking about?" And I'm not sure either. But like I said, like before we even had the interview or anything like that, when he and I were just talking about noise, he was like, "Hey, what's some of your favorite? What's some of the best like non-texture based noise that you can like recommend?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, it's all about texture." And he was talking about this. I mean, the examples he gave, I think, are like not really like they're not about texture, because I think texture is like texture, even if it's very smooth. But did you follow what he was saying with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think what he was kind of getting at was, I mean, there's people that think about things like that very differently, right? So what he was getting at was I think it's just the way it's staged. You know, so it's like, I know what he means. I know what he means, but it gets into that dangerous thing where you're getting yourself all worked up trying to entertain people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so because every time he was describing a work that he likes, it was something that holds your attention, you know, or can
sure,
but but everything he recommended was great, you know.
Sure.
But I think what he was saying was. But it's just the way it's staged. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're listening to like something incredibly chaotic, that's maybe like junk metal, every one of those fucking, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, if we had like a round table of junk metal fans,
yeah,
each one of those junk metal fans would have a different favorite junk metal artist.
Yeah.
Based on the tone and the texture that they get from each of the strikes on the steel. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, I'm not a massive junk metal fan, but I fucking love the way Keith did it.
Yeah.
The way, you know, and I love the way, like, you know, but then there's other junk metal artists where it's just more like clang, bang, dang, and it's like, I can't get into that, but then there's people that like live for that, you know, and those are, but what my appreciation of super chaotic, engaging junk metal from like I think Nolan, like Kakerlak too. He did some fucking really great recordings with steel, but the way he would do it, and Keith would be, like each of the is tonally completely different and texturally completely different when you look at it in like a waveform, or even like listen to it, like the way it's paced and everything, compared to like someone that's more into like the straight clanging, like the high pitched clanging or whatever. So when he was talking about different, but then I think he was also talking about like heavy editing and tonal and tones and everything. But then that's when I was in that other interview, I was talking about how like even the most like cut up dynamic artist, you're looking at it like a line, like a textural line, right? So I think the miscommunication there, if anything, was just it's the way it's staged. Like the way you're going to go into a Vomir release, like a Vomir release, compared to the way you're going to go into like a new Blockaders album.
Right.
If you take a bunch of steps back and squint, they're very alike, both those albums.
Yeah.
But incredibly different. But they're both based on dynamic, and they're both like Vomir's heavily fucking dynamic. Like it's, like, because when you really like listen hard and like you're just like, oh my God, like all the strikes just start like coming out, like, and
right.
That's the same thing. So it's again, I think it's just the way it's staged. But I guess like
staged, could you like use the word composition for that in terms of like the way that a piece is composed over time? I mean,
yeah, exactly. So it'd be like the way someone presents it live, or the way someone presents it in like a release, like a disc. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe texture just wasn't the word to use.
Well, I mean, he also used like, I feel like he's talked about like Evil Moisture kind of as an example too.
Yeah.
As like a noise artist, of course he has texture, but a lot of his sounds are like kind of based on, I don't know, like a whining or a kind of like a tonal.
Yeah, but even that. But I mean, like when I think about Bolus, it's just the first word that comes to mind is dirty.
Yeah,
it's really fucking dirty. Like everything he does is dirty. It's not like clean tonally, right?
Right.
So he's fucking messing with tons of textural sound. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know how there's a lot of people that would hate, they would fucking despise, well, not despise, but they just wouldn't enjoy super clean, hi-fi, Japanese, sharp electronic noise, but they'd love Bolus.
Right.
Right? And a lot of those Evil Moisture albums, or like Hannah Tarash is a good example, right? Or like it's dirtier, right?
Yeah.
And that dirt is, now the word's turning into like getting as bad as harsh noise wall, but that dirt is texture, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. It is, but I see what he's saying, because it's more like incidental, like the texture comes comes from the process.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like
the work isn't focused on like fine tuning that texture. It's kind of like,
yeah, it's not, but it's obviously incredibly it's obviously incredibly mentally thought out. Like when you're like, I don't know, like when you're listening to one of those older releases where there's lots of tinkering, like Pork Queen and those guys. That'd be a good example, right? And Bolus was from that world, that time. And it's like every fucking sound they make, no matter how like nuanced it is, or like what they're using, like maybe a little grinder or a little like tinkering with things, and that's creating tape sounds and shit. It's like, I think they're always really, really astute about it having a grit. Yeah. It's never so that's the kind of thing that you take away from that, where you're just like, no, like they're playing lots and lots with texture. And then just as a sideline, like for me personally, it'd be like growing up listening to Port Queen and Evil Moisture and everything, it's like I'm just taking all those little in-between elements when you're reading between the lines, and because that was what was entertaining me the most, you know, like maybe if you're listening to Aaron Dillaway or anything, so it's just like anything that's with the tape moving and like any of the like the little like, you know, like you know, and then that you know, like, well, okay, I fucking love that, so I want that, you know, like, and then expound on that. So to say like something is bold about using texture, I think it's just maybe a little bit the wrong term, but I understood what he was talking about.
Yeah. I think maybe he was talking about that like in say that Dillaway loop, that contrast between the crunch and the
But what's ironic is it was what we talked about last time too. I mean, under a waveform, that hum is going to have fucking lines in it too.
Yeah, it's full texture. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like you can get into obsessive land, like, which, you know, I think Nick Wainwright years ago was trying to like get into like completely tonal, like, you know, I think Flat Gray, I don't know, that was that was kind of like the next step.
Yeah.
Like, no, this cracking is too entertaining. There's too much.
Yeah.
What's there for me to like, you know, I need, you know.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of also what he was talking about too, is kind of like a push towards a really more less. I mean, I see what you're saying, like about the entertainment. I think also like a push towards
but everything. I don't think he was pushing for more like extreme minimalism,
right?
Because everything he was pushing towards is incredibly busy and not refined, but like, you know, like fine tuned and perfect. You know, like
sure. Yeah. Tell me about the pedal that you have out. Or is it out? Or tell me about that pedal. So
the company, they're called THFX. Mm-hmm. For fucking forever. Like, I've been seeing builders achieving kind of different like Geiger counter type elements. And I remember, and like last year, I just finally reached out to those guys, and I was just like, I was like, yeah, I just want to pay you guys a bit of dough to like, can you just make me just a straight up Geiger counter that you can like use in like a live environment or whatever, right?
Is a Geiger counter like, is that the name of a brand of thing, or is that an actual type of device?
No, I mean, the Geiger counter is obviously what you read like radioactivity with, but I wanted something like that. I wanted something to sound like that.
Okay.
So they created me a pedal, and it did exactly that, and it just had one switch that makes it go from fast to slow. But as you like mess with the switch, it kind of like articulates in between or whatever. So in a live environment, it's just like I've got to use it live once, I think. Mm-hmm. Anyways, and it's through a PA. It's just this, you're holding like this little box, and it's just like, and it was giving me the opportunity to like trace with my hand my vinyl images and everything with this little box in my hand and no other gear. And it was just creating like massive like pops and snaps. And when you like slow it down, it's just like super individual, massive cracks and snaps and everything.
Cool.
And yeah, I was like, perfect, like awesome. And then out of nowhere, they said, they just went, "Oh, Sam, we're making another one, but this one's going to have like instead of the switch, it's going to have a filter, you know, like a knob, so you can really go from slow, minimal snaps to like faster, you know,
like a gradient."
Yeah, like a gradient. So then I was like, oh fuck, awesome. And then yeah, we want to mail you one so you can like try it out and approve it or whatever. And then that's when it just kind of hit me like, well, because when that other pedal got made and I put it up on social media, I was just getting inundated. Hopefully I'm not like jinxing it, but I was getting inundated with people like where do I buy that pedal? Like,
right.
I need a Rita pedal. Like I want that fucking pedal, you know, because I think a lot of people will use it for source, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, and then when they contacted me to try out this other one right away, I was just kind of went into like skateboard marketing brain. And I was like, well, fuck that, dude. Like, if you know, why don't we try doing a pro model pedal, a Rita pedal? So just call it Rita's Cracked Point Shoe, like, and brand it like that, you know?
Sick.
So, and they were like, oh, like, awesome, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah. And I mean, I'm hoping people will buy some of them, you know, but the new one's hilarious. It's like almost as big as a lighter. Yeah. Like a Zippo lighter, and it's got this little knob.
Killer.
And like, now I'm just like, is this going to be my world? Like, I can just like, I want to still do live processing live, because I think, you know, people want to see that, but occasionally I think it'd be hilarious to like literally just have that thing in my back pocket with like some vinyl imageries and banners, or like a woman on stage or something, you know, and then just have that little thing, kind of like when Vomir plays live and he just has this little like
recorder.
One of his earlier shows, he had an MP3 player.
Yeah. And
he would just ask the venue guy how long they want it to play for.
Yeah.
Because he would have 3 loaded.
Right.
10, 20 minutes. It's like, and I was awesome. Always like, whoa. That's sick. But anyways, yeah, so, yeah. So,
is it out yet?
No, so amazingly, like, what they're making it as we speak. So I'm going to be, so this is perfect timing. So if people are interested, they'll have it up on their Instagram probably soon and everything. There, I don't know if there's pre-ordering. I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be totally available for people just to buy. So so in a lot of ways, even if you don't, I mean, I've even had people reach out that don't do noise, like colleagues of mine that are just like, oh, how much is it? I want one of those just for the collection. Yeah. Because if you know how to like hook it up, you can just do your own little Rita show, you know? Like,
killer. Have you used it without processing afterwards? No, I always just use those things on their own. Oh, you use it no like fuzz or anything afterwards? Yeah, because what I love about it is that it, for me personally, it's I curated it. Yeah. The sound. So it is like your own little Rita release. Killer. So it's not like one of those old haters releases. They're like pre-loaded to like play sound, you know? Yeah. Or whatever. So kind of neat. I don't know. That's super cool. The only thing I can think of before that, I might be completely wrong, other than, you know, like pro model fuzz pedals like Jimi Hendrix and kind of shit like that. I remember Circle Electronics made the Gristleizer, which was like throbbing gristle in a box. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, and that was a huge deal. I think he sold tons of those. Yeah, I mean, I know that was a very popular pedal. I didn't know that was throbbing gristle, but yeah, and a lot of people wanted that thing just because they love throbbing gristle. Cool. Right? So I don't know, if you're a big fan of the Rita, this is almost like not to sound like a weird marketing dude, but it's like yeah, but it's also like it also gives people the ability to collaborate with your sound in some way, and yeah. So everything about it has just been like, yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it was great that, you know, and then on top of that, the work those guys do is fucking incredible. Like all the laser etching and everything, durable as fuck, and there's no bullshit. It looked great when I saw it. Where can people find it? What's their THFX? THFX. They're from Germany, right? I think. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but again, sweet. I'm blowing it because I'm so focused on the amazing work they did that I'm just even forgetting the other shit. But I think my brother is going to help me film a promo video for it. Too. Cool. Like kind of an ad, which is pretty funny. That's sick. That's super sick. It's you know, but again, this is just I'm kind of hoping this is like the tip of the iceberg. Like, imagine if like, and I might be wrong. There might have already been like 8 million different fucking pro model noise pedals out, but I don't think so. But imagine it's just like the thing I like about this is that, and I didn't talk about this last time,
is that the fucking bullshit notion that noise has to be hard or else it has no value. It has to be difficult or it has no value. You know, like when harsh noise wall kids, they get called out all the time because it was too easy. You know, and I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Right.
You know, some of the greatest sound artists in the world were dumping wheelbarrows of fucking like nuts and bolts downstairs.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
You know, like, so if I can buy an Aaron Dillaway pedal that's like kind of like a fucking some sort of like tape loop, instant tape loop or whatever, and that can be used for me as a tool, because that's the hope with my pedal. Like if you're using it for an application as like a tool for your own sound, and that's just a new invented. It's like when the white noise generator became a standard of harsh noise,
right?
And then people were like pushing against it. They're like, oh, now everyone's going to sound exactly the same and all this kind of shit, right? And it's like, and I'm like, yeah, but dude, what about guitars? Yeah. What about the white noise generator is just a tool. Like right. I haven't been to a noise show where everyone's been using white noise generators and sounded exactly the same.
Right.
I don't know about, to people that are like, that, aren't listening close enough maybe, but so I think it's just like the same thing, right? So it's like harsh noise specialized tools that are making it easier for burgeoning harsh noise artists or like older harsh noise artists to just have the tool to like, so they can put more work into the personal,
right?
Like, okay, I have this. Now I can go and fucking hike through a coal mine for 20 minutes for a whole day.
Yeah.
And not fucking hang out with patch cords all fucking day, like,
right.
Because I have this tool that I know is going to process it the way I want it to.
How would you feel about artists who use that pedal that is yours sound and attempt to make it sound like you? And, well, obviously, it will sound like you, but will that bother you if people follow your path or your personal?
Well, it's
too closely.
Yes and no. It'd just be like, but I've already kind of been a victim of that 8 million times over.
Yeah.
But I've been with, and I'll get emails from colleagues every day, all day, just raging about it, but then it comes to the point where it's like, even if it's got even a little bit of its own personal injection or sounds a little different, yeah. I'm down.
Yeah.
110% down.
Yeah.
It's like,
and now with this, like, at least you're able to control. I think it's cool because like you're able to control the narrative, because it's this. Let's be fair, that is a big thing. People follow what you do in a big way, and now it's like now you really can, in a way that you have like sanctioned and like designed, and I think that's very cool.
Yeah. Again, I'm just like, I'm lucky enough to be able to do things like this.
Yeah.
So, but that's it. When like, but again, as you get older and you realize that there's fucking billions of people in the world having this crazy fucking idea that every harsh noise artist has to be completely 110% different from the other one is nuts.
Right.
It's like getting into war metal.
Yeah.
Any metal genre, any music genre, and thinking like, because you're trying to get the same thing out of each of those bands.
Right.
Some might just do it a little better than the other ones.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know.
And they do it differently.
Now we're getting into weird. Now we're getting into nuance. That's just like, but it's like, yeah. If I'm going to go to the harsh, I'm playing next year. I'm playing in Europe again, and I think I'm playing the first time that Harsh Noise Wall Festival in Paris.
Oh, cool.
Right. And I've been keeping up with that a little bit. And it's, and if you're into harsh noise, if you're not into harsh noise wall, that's just going to be the, like those guys are all kind of doing like the same style.
Right.
you know what I mean? But I know that all those guys, a lot of notes, some of those dudes, they've all got incredibly personal takes on each thing, you know? I mean, that's the other thing. It's like, there's billions of people in the world, but people, no matter how many bands sound exactly the fucking same, everyone's getting their own little different personal take from it.
Yeah.
Which is the thing we don't think about enough, I think.
Right.
You know, like.
True.
So, yeah, but
I'm curious if that's the first harsh noise or Rita pedal. I've seen some other things that I thought were for sure.
Oh, I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it gives me the chance to talk about this as well. So I've been also lucky enough that I've had tons of pedals made for me that were very much like a Rita kind of curated thing. Damien Romero made me and Phil 2 filtered like white noise generators that are like doubled up.
Cool.
I remember Damien told me he'd want, because I was like, oh, this would be awesome. I can run it through pedals. And Damien's like, no. This is the Rita in a box. And I was like, awesome, you know?
Yeah, cool.
So I have that, and I think Phil's got another one. He's got the other one. And then
are they the same, or is Phil's like the cherry point in a box?
It's the same, but it's like cherry point in the Rita in a box.
Oh, cool.
But I remember Damien was really adamant about me, like, because he'd give me tests, and I'd be like, yeah, it's great. I can't wait to put it through again. Oh, that's perfect. I can't wait to put it through pedals. And he's like, oh. So that ruled. And then fucking the other one that people ask me about a lot when it pops up is Ryan Bloomer made me a pedal. It's a stacked fuzz, like analog fuzz in a giant aluminum box, and it's called the Lake Shark. Yeah. And all it has is a switch. So,
I've seen it. That's super killer.
Yeah, that one's fucking sick. And I still use the filtered white noise generator that Ryan made me specially as well.
Cool.
The Traumatone one that it cuts, because I remember he was checking out Damien's and he was sure that he could punch it even further. So I use that live a lot. I use Damien's. I just have I have 2 basic touring rigs. So one has Damien's on it and one has Ryan's on it.
Cool.
So it's pretty close. I mean, they're both incredible. So that was lucky as fuck. And then the one that fucked me up the most, I think I can talk about it now. I wasn't allowed to back in the day, but after Tulsa, after Dayton, after Amplified Humans in Dayton, I can't remember how it went down exactly. All I know is that I got it and I didn't have to pay for it, and it was fucking crazy. But Stefan and them got a hold of me, and they were like, dude, Killer Bug wants to make you a fuzz pedal. I was like, what? Why? Like, I don't even think I said hi to him and met him and shit, and he was just like, no. He's like really adamant about it. Wow. So out of nowhere in the mail, I got like this beautiful Killer Bug fuzz pedal that's kind of like like it oscillates. Yeah. As well. So it's another Rita in a box. Wow. And it's and I was just like completely moved. Like that fucked me up. But
wow, from Cosmo to Endo, wow.
Yeah, and then it just came, and I was like, and then but then the big thing was you can't tell anybody because he doesn't want people to know he can make pedals for people. But I don't know what's going on now. But again, that was like at Amplified Humans. Like that was literally like a week after or something. So I can't remember how it went down. But I have that thing on display in my apartment, like right next to the Lake Shark pedal. Killer. And they're both like the same kind of aluminum chrome. That's awesome. So that's really neat. And then on top of that, Crank, Sturgeon, and Ryan have made me these legendary contact mics that just don't fucking break. Yeah. So it's like a hydrophone made to live through World War III. Like it's fucked. They're fucked up. So people ask me about those all the time too. Killer. And no one's able to make them like those. Like I don't know. So again, I'm just lucky as fuck that I can be close enough with these colleagues and they're down for the cause so I can have all this amazing stuff made.
That's super cool.
My life really easy. Basically.
That's awesome. So anyway.
But again, what's hilarious about that though is that I just watched that Incapacitance documentary again recently, and I think Kosakai was saying, or Mikao, I can't remember whichever. He was saying like whenever I tour, I don't like using specially made gear because it could break. Yeah, I'm fucked.
Right.
You know. So when I tour, if people watch me live, they'll notice that everything I use is like you can buy down the street.
Right.
But I've figured it out over the years how to do exactly what I want to fucking do, other than, like the Damon Romero thing. But yeah, I just make sure that nothing can fucking, like, because that's the only thing that scares the fuck out of me about that new little Rita's Cracked point shoe pedals. I'm just like, well, fucking rights. Next year when I go to Europe, that's going in my backpack, like my bag. Like that's all I'm fucking bringing.
Yeah.
Power adapter. And I can borrow Sean's mixer or something. So it's like, but then right away I'm like, dude, like, what if you like trip and step on it, or any, and then you're just fucked. Like,
but you mean like for the tour or
like during the tour, like what if it like accidentally hook it up to the wrong power and blow it up or something, and then I'm just like, oh, awesome, I guess we're going to the music store. Hopefully they have a fucking
correct point
a Walkman and two of these, like fuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's you could probably get 2 or 3 if you ask them nicely, if they're making the pedal for you.
Yeah, but again, I think it's just that it's that brain I've got. But it was ironic because when you're watching that Incapacitance thing, and I was just like, oh yeah, I know that feeling. That just like, like when you're on tour and all, like, because I've toured with dudes, like everything is made by like somebody, and it's just kind of like, it's not working. Like like playing it, and you're just like, and the tour's over, and you're just like, like, I don't want that shit to happen. No.
I mean, my sound and setup is like 100% based off of some random weird piece of gear that I have. That, I mean, it's findable, but it's like I'm on like an American power source in here, and like have a converter. And I always thought, fuck, if I go play a show like out of town, and this thing just, because it's old too, it's kind of, I mean, and the sound I think is probably based on the fact that it's old. And it's like, if this craps out, my sound is going to be really, really boring. It's going to be really, really
it's like, oh, no problem. I'll just buy a fucking DoD bass overdrive. And then you're like, yeah, but the one you just replaced it with isn't 30 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Covered in beer, like, but might not
actually, I asked Wyatt about that. That's funny. Wyatt talked about that too, because he talks about how he likes to use he has his setup and he has his specific things, and he uses a lot of like internal feedback. And I'm always curious about how that like affects the circuits after time. And he was like, he actually bought a second rig for touring. That's the exact same as he has at home for recording, and it sounds super different.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay, yeah.
Like then he has one that's all 30. He's been running his shit through for 30 years, and he bought all brand new like copies of the same thing. It acts very different and it sounds different. So that's
fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Luckily, too, I've always had my tech guy to a pretty good degree has always been Chris Goudreau from Cygnus. Days. Like, how can I quit fucking like just be like the classic Goudreau style, like, Sam, like, you're a fucking idiot, dude. Like, what are you doing? Just do this, like, okay, Chris. Yeah. That's been good too. Chris has been a good help, big help.
Yeah, but, cool.
Anyway, yeah, I always like the idea too of the live show where you've created enough of an entity around yourself that even if all the gear does go to shit, you can do something on stage. People will be stoked,
Yeah, there are people
like that famous thing where I guess Ron, like Emil Bolio, I guess there's that famous story where all of his gear just went to shit, so he just recited some classic. I think it was like a Dada speech. I can't remember what it was, but then that was his set.
Yeah, for sure.
then of course everyone's like, "Oh my god, that was the greatest Bolio set I've ever seen."
Yeah, there's that, and I think
it's just like all of Sam's gear just went to shit, but he creeped out on a vinyl banner for half an hour with no sound at all.
Exactly, dude. I mean, and it works. I mean, like you said, the Rita is more than a sound. It's more than a musical. It's not a musical project. It's a multimedia project. I imagine you could do performances or releases in the future that aren't even sound based, or even, I don't know. I mean, I think,
yeah, like more like image, but yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is that, yeah, I've been doing, yeah. Again, I always think of it as just being lucky that people are into it, So I'm able to do that kind of shit, I mean, I can obviously just do it alone at home all the time, but being able to do it in like Europe and all that kind of stuff is pretty fucking special,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not luck. It comes from.
Well, yeah, work.
Putting in the work and putting in the ideas, and and so this also kind of. I mean, it's kind of fair to say that you have, without blowing smoke up your ass, that you have like contributed a great deal to the evolution and direction and current, state of harsh noise and how people approach it and how we think about it. And there's been a lot of talk about, you seem to have this really philosophy that things should really just kind of like, or can really just kind of like go in a direction that you want them to. And people have also asked the question, why should harsh noise evolve? Does it have to evolve? People talk about, let's have more entertainment, let's have more movement, let's have more things. Where should or could harsh noise go from here? I mean, I'm not saying it should or must, but I mean, you must realize that you yourself have contributed you contributed to it changing in a certain direction and being at a point where it is at now. Do you think that that's the absolute? Do you think that's the final? Do you think there's another big step that can be made?
Well, I mean, I always like to make the important point that I didn't come up with anything new. I just kind of pointed out the things I liked. If you want to think of it that,
sure.
It's incredibly simple terms. You know what I
sure.
mean? So it's like I can't stand somewhere and say I created anything when like albums like Montal's Orchestra's Second Movement exist. I can't, or Richard's Black Leather Jesus Anti. I can't. So anyways, but I think it's basically like talking about it enough in conversation and liner notes and everything where it's like interpretation. I think that's what it is. So it's like different interpretations of already existing works and expanding on them. Mm-hmm. So and then that kind of results in like different focuses of things that already exist. And then I think that kind of just helps push harsh noise into like these little subtle different realms where people can like have different focus and appreciation, so I think that's what helps it grow in my mind. Mm-hmm. It's like where, again, it's just, I love the fact that, no one's been listening closer over the last like 10 years, and love it or hate it. That's what's generated all these different subgenres and everything. Right.
Yeah.
So I like to think maybe like, I've just been through conversation and writing. Again, I think it's just the way like things are kind of just like looked at closer and a little differently, and I'll always just love that if I gave anything to anything, it's just that people people can, like, the way that I want, I'd love to see harsh noise grow again. It's just, it doesn't even have to be, it's going to sound weird, but it doesn't even have to be new sounds. It just has to be like personal representation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And people are always going to do something right. You know, and then that's where everyone at a show is going to throw their arms up in the air and be like, fuck yeah, you know, like,
yeah.
So, yeah. And but again, like, it's like, it's what Romer's talked about, you know, it's noise can't, I remember him being like, in these letters or whatever, there were some really, really gnarly comments from like Alb and other artists just saying that harsh noise is done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's over. And then even fucking, what's his name? Said there was another artist who's kind of popped up again recently from back in the day, and he was saying that harsh noise is over. There's anyone doing harsh noise now is literally an idiot. It's all you need is Merzbow's Rainbow Electronics, and you're done. Yeah. Right? And I remember like talking to Romer about that in letters back in the day, and he was like, obviously just fuck them. But his thing was what I think this is what I think. I mean, this, I'm not giving this enough credit, I guess. This is what really got ingrained in me, is that Romer said, he said, it's sound. It can't stop being analyzed. Any like music's like, you know, like beat, like music is like structured in such a way that it can be done.
Yeah.
But you can't fucking dump a giant wheelbarrow of gravel down a hallway and think that that's done, you know, like that's a lifetime's worth of fucking sounds that are in that, you know, like, so it's like, you know, and then it's what he explained. It's like, it's fucking sound. Like, it can never be done. Yeah. You know, there's way too much dirt. There's way too much meat in it. Yeah. Because there's no structure, like, all this kind of shit. And I think that really got ingrained in me, where it's like, okay, well then that's why we have to like do autopsies on it, you know? Yeah. Like, yeah. Like, if these old guys are saying that noise is done and Rainbow Electronics is the only album you ever need to own, I think that was the album. It's like, you know, like that was back in like 1995. Guys were saying that.
That's crazy. I mean,
you know. Oh yeah, because I mean, all due respect, because I love Alb, and he's obviously a massive fucking influence on what I do, like massive, like you know, a Water album, a Steel, you know what I mean? Like that's fucking like, when you're growing up in the harsh noise scene, that's important fucking shit. And on top of that, what he makes is amazing. Yeah. But he said in no other words that harsh noise is finished, and only Merzbow is allowed to do it anymore.
That's crazy.
Right? And it's like, do people forget about that interview? I think it was in Banana Fish. I can't remember where it was.
I didn't know that. No, I never knew about that.
Yeah. And then fucking this other dude said same thing. Like, once you buy, I mean, I might be totally wrong. It must be Rainbow Electronics. Is that the name of that? If there's a Merzbow album called Rainbow Electronics, right?
Might be. I don't know.
Whatever. Who cares?
Sounds like
it, though, once you own that, you don't need any harsh noise albums ever again.
But you said that this guy's active again? What's he doing?
Oh yeah, he's popped up again, but he's fuck, what's his name? He had a noise magazine. Oh, he's also the same dude that I was reading in his old noise magazine back in the mid-90s that said stuff like, this is a good Noise Embryo was the review. This is a great harsh noise album because it keeps your attention through the right? Oh fuck, what's his name? It's on Mason Jones.
Yeah, he's active. Yeah.
He's popped up recently, because you know how people are just kind of like, all respect to him because he was obviously the influence in those early readings and shit, but everyone's kind of figured out you can kind of make it make something of yourself doing noise again.
Yeah, that's interesting though. But I am really curious about this idea of harsh noise. Do you think there are sounds that could like apply themselves to harsh noise, and not like in a, oh yeah, this is also harsh noise sense, but like that really scratch that itch that exists outside of what is being used in terms of equipment? Because I just think I'm not, this is like a very non-technical thought, but like when I think of like an analog signal of white noise or something like that being processed by analog distortion, either guitar pedals or whatever, overdriving it into whatever, that is still going to produce a finite amount of.
Well, I mean, it's like that thing where it's like
of sound from that.
I think like when you interviewed Ted, the funniest thing ever was like, I don't know if you watched it again, but I think you asked him why he hasn't done electronics like 10 times. We were all like he doesn't need to, Oscar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I'm always like, everything we're doing is trying to sound like what he does, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But anyways, it was just, you know, we obviously love you, so we're just like laughing.
Well, I think
it's for some reason analog electronics are kind of like this weird unwritten. It's like it's not harsh noise unless it's analog electronics,
right?
You know, like
well, the most obvious thing that I'm thinking of is like digital sounds, like.
Oh no! I mean, I at this point I just think that's the same shit. Digital and analog, it's the same shit. Because with all the filters and shit, everyone can. It's just like now we're at the point where it's like, is that an analog? Like if you're asking that question, it's the same.
Right. But in terms of not digital recreation of analog noise or something like that, those crunches, but like different types of synthesis or processing or sound generation that don't, because I know there's a lot of it. I know a lot of it sounds like stupid, wanky, glitchy noise. I mean, there's a lot of it out there, and it's been people doing it for 30 years, and I know what that sounds like. But I still want to think that there are still some like harsh noise sounds that I could be like, what, like.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
That's a new harsh noise sound, but it's not.
That's why I talked about it last time. That's why I love to keep up with all of these new acts that pop up all the time. You know, like once a month, just hang out for a night, just making sure you're listening to everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's how I found out about. That's how I found out about ZK.
Mm-hmm. Right.
ZK. You know, it's just like that Asilo album is the greatest album ever fucking recording, and to this day we don't know how she did it.
Right.
You know? So when I think about the future, because I kind of think outside the gear instantly, you know, because I think the future of harsh noise is going to be more controlled explosives. That's what I think the future of harsh noise is going to be.
Wow.
Like literally. So like it's going to be like survival research laboratories and fucking those guys that had my brain just turned off with this super controversial dudes that played Sucks by Sucks West and blew up that concrete floor in Chicago with a pipe bomb. But they always have like synthesizers. But I think specific controlled explosions are going to be the future of harsh noise.
That's very true, because you could really get into some incredible sounds of that if you like.
I remember one of the coolest fucking things ever is every year in Vancouver we have again right now GX is probably like, yeah, I've done that like a million times. but I think like with everybody, you know, so it's going to be, which I think would be fucking hilarious. You know, like, oh, like, dude, you're still using a PA? Like, this is 2024, man. Like, we all hang out in a gravel pit now and set off controlled explosions. You know, like,
dude,
that's harsh noise.
You know, that would be insane. And we're then like technical skills in terms of like audio go out the window, and it becomes like chemistry.
Oh yeah, and what was fucking crazy was one year, every year in Vancouver, we have this crazy thing called Symphony of Fire. Awesome name. It's fireworks teams from all over the world come to Vancouver. They probably do it. They must tour. I don't know. But anyways, and they have every night is a different country. Does a fireworks show over False Creek, and their launch pad is this massive kind of like houseboat structure that's in the middle of False Creek. And it's fucking insane. But one year I was at the store, the American team came in because they obviously just wanted to hang out and get some Skullskate shit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, they're like, you know, small talking and like, and they're like, oh yeah, we're the American firework team. And then I was just like, oh, like, how do you guys work with the sound, like the volume? And they went, oh, that's a huge part of our deal. They said almost half of what we choreograph is the volume and the sound and all that. And then he did I have it somewhere in my house. I'll try to find it. I probably won't, but he did a fucking drawing for me of the gear they use to actually affect the volume of the explosion. So it's all controlled explosions.
Yeah.
Right? And the sound.
Yeah. So
it's like a firework, a beautiful firework is one thing, but he said, but another thing for the audience is this massive crack. Like, you know what I mean? I think he even said, I mean, this is a long fucking, he was at the old store, so this was a long time ago, but he was saying like, I could give the most beautiful fucking fireworks show all night, but if there's no sound, you know, that fucks people up, you know, like, you know, kids crying like this and all this kind of shit. It's like, so yeah, so here's what we do. And he did this crazy quick diagram of how they fucking orchestrate the volume and it's all volume due to controlled explosions. Right.
So
it's like when my dad described when you're watching a Top Fuel dragster, the reason it sounds like that is my dad was like, dude, they're harnessing dynamite.
Yeah.
They're controlling dynamite. Like it's literally nitro.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
like
wild.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
so they're manipulating the sound of the fireworks just as much as they're manipulating the
that was. I mean, again, it's all I can't remember exactly, but that was basically my chair just died. That was basically I hit the thing, got all excited, but that was all. That was a big thing. He was like, dude, like watching people basically get shocked by massive volume snaps is a huge part of our show. Because they win, it's a contest. It goes over like 2 weeks or something. It's crazy.
That's killer.
And the whole city, you can hear it from every part of Vancouver.
That's killer.
Yeah. The other neat part of those is historically a lot of stabbings at those events, which is super weird too.
That's weird. Like between nationalities or something like that?
No, between like people just getting robbed and shit.
Okay.
Whole other thing, but it's just like the crowds are so huge that for some fucked reason it inspires people to stab people in the back and steal their wallets and shit.
Damn, I can imagine there being. I think on 4th of July and like New Year's, there's a lot of shootings, just in general. Yeah. It's easy to.
I remember when I was my dad married my grandpa married an American woman who lived in LA, so my brother and I got to skate in LA a lot during our heyday. So that's how we met a lot of the guys. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they said every New Year's, you know, if we have 4th of July, everyone would like shoot in the air. I guess there was a lot of injuries with the bullets coming back down and shit.
Jesus.
But anyway, I think
that's very interesting. That's
something that Lashin from Flat Grays talked about forever too. Right? So it's like, so I think eventually we're going to stop pussing around.
I mean, we have to. I mean, I'm not trying to be one of these guys that's like this has to change, but it's like things do have to get beyond. I think processing a signal through pedals. You know, like things have to go.
What's neat about it is that it's not different.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's just we're going to figure out how to make it more what we want out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And the non-novelty effect. It can't be. I mean, I'm sure someone's thought, "Hey, I'm going to make an explosion."
That's the thing too. That the way that the way that we do it would be very much like GX or Survival Research Laboratories is kind of a weird, because he obviously had deafening loud sounds, but lots of things going on. But I love the idea of just like. But again, this just brings us right back to that fucking conversation. Like when you're watching videos of like Keith Brewer, he'd send me videos all the time he'd go to like weapons shows.
Right.
And a huge part of that for a lot of those guys was like, oh, here's this 1960s fucking machine gun.
Right.
And then what's the first thing that comes out of their mouth? Listen to how it sounds.
Right. Yeah, there's that Arms to the Teeth recording, which has this amazing field recordings. That's one of his best albums, I think. Keith is like, half of it is just like the shooting of automatic weapons into a car packed full of explosives.
I mean, that was always a big thing, because we did that one split disc thing, and I remember he like shot up all the, I don't know if you've got one, but a lot of the original packaging was all shot.
Right.
He shot them all up. So that was always a big thing for him, right? But again, it's just like what we talked about with the Top Fuel dragsters. It's like you watch these fucking gun shows with these rare, you know, these dudes with these collections of weird like Vietnam era machine guns and shit. Mm-hmm. It's like first thing that comes out of their fucking mouth. Oh my God, that sounds crazy. You know, like,
yeah.
So I don't know. I always loved it. I don't know why he did it, but I mean, I kind of do, but I mean, I always loved that Steve Albini would always fucking fire off before Big Black played. He would famously fire off those Black Cat fireworks around the whole front of the stage.
That's cool. I forgot about that. That's cool.
Before they'd start, and Black Cat fireworks is the perfect fucking sound.
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of, you know, and it's just like literally the perfect sound.
Yeah. That's killer.
So, I don't know. I mean,
remember when Romer, when you guys played Macro with Romer, you and Nolan, and he was throwing the fireworks in that metal box?
Oh, right. Yeah, that was fucking the coolest part about that night. On a whole other side note, was watching Romer get warmed up on the guitar. That was sick. Like full on. Like, and Nolan was like, "Whoa, is that what he's gonna do?"
That's sick, dude. That was a crazy. I was there for like a whole week, and like being able to like hang out with Joe Romer a couple of times, just like walking around was just a trip. And him coming over to Matt's house, over to Redneck's house, and just like hanging out down there, and just like, this is unreal. I mean,
there's a dude that could get down with the gravel pit explosion sessions. Would be Redneck. He'd be super down.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then the other thing is we'll have all these fucking weirdo colleagues that'll come out of the woodwork that'll have all this gear. Then there'll be tons of injuries, which would be sick too. And then, but dude, imagine that, like 2025, like where's everyone? Where's the show tonight? Is it at the fucking bid? It's like, no, dude, like gravel pit, Highway 303.
Hour out of town.
Do we need a PA? Oh.
No. You need a jacket. Yeah, that's a great thought. Actually, that's a really great thought. Would recording it and releasing it make sense?
Yeah, I think still, because I mean, not to bring them up, but I always kind of like that. Is it Throbbing Gristle's got that one album? I think it's one of those weird white albums where the whole introduction is just the firing of a cannon, like it's some sort of military firing. And I thought that always kind of translated well because of the way it was framed, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think so. No, totally. I mean, an LP of a fucking festival like that or a night like that would be fucking cool as fuck.
It's also true that's such a powerful sound, and there's that Krumer album, Burning in Hell, like his you know, so to speak, metal junk album, and it opens with a fireworks field recording. And when I talked to him, when I interviewed him, he was like, "Yeah, that's the only thing people remember about that thing," or like they only talk about that part. And and, you know, kind of like wrote it off like it was just like a side note or something like that. But at the same time, that shows actually that no matter how much, you know, sound art you can do, manipulation of sound and all that, sometimes it just, I mean, I like that. I think it's an awesome album, but sometimes it still like pales in comparison, and just in terms of like touching us to when compared to like real explosive sound, like real fireworks or real kinetic energy like that. You know?
There's fucking. Occasionally I'll watch that. I don't know if you ever watched him. I'll send you the link after. But there's that guy, Whistling Diesel, like a huge YouTube hero, like or star. Totally self-made. But anyways, his whole deal is he loves buying like supercars and super expensive cars and just like breaking them down, like smashing them. Anyways, it's like I don't know. But anyways, like more often than not, there'll be parts of his videos where it's like the same thing. I watched one recently where he saved a bunch of money from all the people that hate him, quote unquote. He bought a Lamborghini. He went into like these aftermarket dudes in, I can't remember where it was, in LA or whatever. And got like the most tits Lamborghini you can fucking get. And he but the first thing they fucking did was he hooked up with this other dude and he brought his other car. And they did and he's not even a Lamborghini guy. He's more into like diesel trucks. I think he finally bought a tank. That was like his dream or whatever. But anyways, they parked them all in a parkade. And that recent tape that I did for Ted that we based on anti-lag systems. You know, when you're watching like F1 or rally cars and they gear down and you get that super fucking insane backfiring. Or when you see some assholes drive by in a supercar and they're backfiring crazy. That's like that. I found out, you know, like doing a bunch of homework, that's like an anti-lag system that's really important that keeps the turbo. I think it's what it's doing. I might be wrong, poser, but anyways, keeps the poser running, keeps the turbo running. Yeah. Anyways, it's insane. Like it's like when you hear it, you think someone just died in a drive-by, right? Yeah. It's like fucked up. And then, but yeah, during this one video, they park all the cars, like, so all of the exhausts are facing each other. And then they just let them go to fucking town with the anti-lag. And it's like, and it shorts, like what you brought up with the recording, it keeps shorting out the audio. It's so fucking loud. And the camera is like literally 100 feet away. Wow. And it's shorting out the audio, and then it shows the Whistling Diesel dude get out of the car, and he's like, oh my God, like he can't stop laughing, but he's like holding his ears and running away. And then the other dude, the other famous YouTuber guy, see, he does the same thing. He gets out of the car and can't stop laughing because they just can't believe how fucking loud it is. But when you're watching it and the volume keeps shorting out, and you just want to be there so fucking badly, you know? And it's like, and that's shit that we could do, you know? Yeah. Like, you know, and again, those guys, I don't know, even, they might not know what, you know, I'm just a broken record now, but it's like they don't even know what harsh noise is. Yeah, but imagine if you combine those forces. I mean, it oftentimes requires money, and it requires... Well, what's funny about that example was that each one of those cars was $500,000. So it's like that's yeah, exactly. But I'm sure there's there. I mean, there's one dude that follows the barrier cult. He's like this super fucking legendary guy in Germany. I think his name is Stefan. Over the top Satanist dude, and he's into all this crazy fetish shit. And he's like looks like a Aryan warrior, and he's like 6'5", but he's like the funniest, nicest guy. Yeah. And anyways, just covered in upside down cross chest tattoos and shit. And he's just an anomaly because out of nowhere one day he's like, oh, hello, Sam. I've never emailed you pictures of my rally car. And I'm like, what? And I guess he rally races, like sponsored rally racer. Yeah. We could get him to come to one of the fucking shows. Yeah. Like anti-system, you know, I don't know. Just dumb shit like that. But again, these are all ideas that have been talked about forever. And I'm sure there's been days where like tons of harsh noise dudes have gone to like fucking like junkyards to watch the cars get crushed and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I know that these guys are way ahead of the game probably, but Damian Romero obviously goes to Top Fuel races all the time. I go when I can, because that's just, you can't get better than that. That's just a real harsh. And then, but I remember a big event in Victoria every year was like a smash up derby that Ron and Nick and everybody would go to every year, but they treated it like a show.
Yeah.
So they just go. And it was like, and that was the thing. So all you're listening to for a whole night is no muffler V8s and steel getting crushed. Right? So yeah, there's a junk metal and textural harsh noise night.
Yeah. I'd love to just step out of the bedroom, so to speak.
Yeah.
When it comes to like
literally the bedroom.
Yeah, like when it comes to harsh sound.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot there.
But again, and then the other direction is I think there's going to be kind of a return to more staging of ideas. You know, like portrayal of what the obsession is and how it translates into sounds. So you're seeing not costume noise. Really, but like I think there's going to be more of that too, like growth in that. I think that's going to be the future too.
Yeah, that's
where it's like the gears like secondary. I think gear is going to be way more backstage eventually. It's going to be way more like, it's obviously already happening in like sound art environments and shit, but it'll be more like in harsh noise. I think that's going to be a big thing too. I think like one example is like Sean from Black Leather Jesus. He's obsessed with his rocks. Like he fucking loves his big rocks now, right?
Yeah.
Like that's his thing.
Yeah. So
I keep thinking that that's going to one day just be his only thing. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
There is that. It's just always the fine line between performative gimmick versus
but I think it's going to be, there's people that already do it, but I think that's what's going to be different is that people have gone through costume noise.
Yeah.
They've gone through this, they've gone through that. So it's going to be more of like the haters.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be way more of that.
That would be
escalating back again. Yeah. But again, it all comes back to fucking GX.
Yeah.
Just get that, that book that just sounds like
every performance,
everything he's ever done or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest bummer of a book. It's like, you just like get an idea, the light bulb, and then you open the book. Like, oh, done. Done.
GX
done,
did
done.
it. GX did it.
Yeah. So it's like, but I don't know, but that's just.
There's that new. There's the new DVD also, which Narcolepsy just brought out, which I just got copies of. I haven't watched it yet, but it's like, what is it?
Like as many of the performances as they could.
I think so. Yeah, Haters Live.
Oh, badass. Oh, sick.
Which I think is supposed to be super killer. Look how many. Oh, Jesus Christ. Concerts, there's got to be about 30 listed in there.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's going to be something for like people that haven't fully grasped his importance. They're just going to be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. 91 through 99. That's killer.
The haters are hilarious. They're kind of like the incapacitants, where it's like they're always there, and we know that they're the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
They get no attention.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's super weird. It's almost like we need like, there's it's kind of like there's that freestyle pro Rodney Mullen who always get, if people know about him in freestyle, whatever. Yeah. He would get first place so fucking much that getting second was first.
Yeah.
Right? So I think about that with the incapacitants and the haters, where it's like, but when you go to some event, it's like whoever got second gets kind of more attention than Rodney Mullen did.
Right.
Because it was so special. You know, like, but everyone watches Rodney and they're like, "Oh fuck, holy shit!" But then it's about like, who got second place?
Yeah. We know you're the best, but like
that's kind of like this thing. Like, it's always nice to know. It's almost like a comforting.
Yeah.
That there's always going to be the haters and the incapacitants that we know is the is the premium, and
they can't be touched. Yeah.
Yeah,
they really can't be touched.
It's nice to know that something can't be touched. I know it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of like blasphemy or something, you know? It's like...
Exactly.
There's that, and then there's...
And there's everything else that's all...
You know, it's just a dumb quote. It's like it's their world. We just live in it, you know?
Exactly. That's true. That's exactly true.
Funny.
You've talked a lot about... I mean, obviously you're a huge fan of cinema, and that's a whole topic, but one thing you've mentioned a few times, maybe this is kind of going back to the fear moment, is that something along the lines that, like, you experience the same kind of inner experience from harsh noise as you do from cinema or certain types of cinema. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, especially early on, like in the early gray market bootleg days that all of us like to, you know, brag about, where it's like, you know, you're getting caught at customs trying to fucking bring Salo over the border, you know, like, those were like very different movie collecting times, you know, like, fuck, a friend of mine got held up and put in a cell for 9 hours for trying to bring a copy of Entrails of a Virgin across the border for me, you know?
Wow.
And it's like, not a cell, but one of those holding rooms or whatever, you know? So it's like, you know, it's like, those were different fucking times, you know? So it's like, when you think you're doing something totally dangerous, you know, and then as a sideline, you find out you're a fucking pussy because you're watching nothing compared to like what other people I'll leave unnamed are watching. But yeah, I mean, that's always been a thing. But I think that's kind of like the same tendencies for me. It's like I got to go to like the, you know, like to the
But like but like beyond like the collecting scene or like the logistics around it, like. Is that something you also experienced from, like, watching the physical image?
Oh yeah, that was always the payoff. Is when you get it and you're like, oh, like that's why Man Behind the Sun is still the only movie that's illegal in Canada. You know, like because a lot of the movies kind of like lived up to it. But I mean, that was just kind of like me being younger and just being like, I mean, ever since I was in high school, I was into like horror films and stuff, right? Like Fangoria magazine and all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's the danger and the fear and then the payoff, because when you're in high school and you're reading Fangoria, all the bootleg gray market ads were in the classifieds in the back, and they were the ones that would list all the Italian director names and shit. And as a kid, you're like, whoa, like what is that shit? Like, why do I need to buy it from the back of this magazine? You know, and you do it, and then you're like, and then it pays off. You're like, oh, shit, like this is the real shit. Like, it's just, but obviously as I get older, I'm just kind of like, you know, I just do with cinema. I just do the same fucking thing I do with sound. I just keep, like, now my favorite movies of all time are completely just deconstructed ideas of cult cinema that are just like really like monotone and like whatever, you know? So I think of movies very fucking differently than I did back in the day, but those are fun, neat times, you know, like putting your first guinea pig bootleg VHS tape in some girlfriend's VHS player, you know, and it's like, and you know that you had to like sneak over the border. Yeah. And then it's like, and then the payoff is real. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, and then at the same fucking time, you're watching an Alchemy video with CCCC rolling around on the floor, you know, doing her thing. And it's like the whole world at that time was just like, whoa, you know, and then you might get a VHS tape from Roma or something that's, you know, like even like, whoa, you know, and you're just like, yeah, that's definitely part of it, you know, but. And you know, of course, like it's not even at that time. I don't even think of it as more like it wasn't really edgelord shit, because it's like it was more like you're just doing it.
Sure, of course, yeah.
You don't have 3 different Instagram accounts about it
to show. Yeah, exactly. But like, so you talked about your current favorite films are like kind of like monotone, like deconstructions of.
Well, like one example would be like my favorite. I think now my favorite movie of all time changes kind of suddenly, but I've kind of declared it would be like Jean Rollins' Lips of Blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because everything about all of my favorite things in European filmmaking and at the age I am and women and everything is portrayed in that movie. But it's like, but again, it's all just like in kind of like chaptered, like elements,
mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, I love this. It's like when you have a favorite movie of all time, but it's only, or a favorite top 10 movie, but it's only because of 5 minutes of the movie.
Right.
There's movies like that for me, it's like, oh, this is this movie's a fucking masterpiece. And it's like, but it's only because of this fucking 5 minutes. Like,
right.
I couldn't, I don't give a fuck about the rest of the movie's a disaster, But anyways, but Lips of Blood just has that weird. But Lips of Blood is just like an example,
Sure.
But again, that would be like where it's just like everything over my decades and decades of collecting European cinema and hanging out with like colleagues and watching all these movies and meeting all these people, and it just keeps getting broken down. It's like, and then it's like you finally watch something like that and you're just kind of like, okay, all the elements are in it, completely personal, and this is why I'm just going to declare that, and this is why I'm going to watch this movie like twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like cinema is kind of like I kind of have at this point, I have a weird love-hate relationship with it because it's,
mm-hmm.
I just really like specific fucking things about it, that I can't deny. And it's definitely nothing to do with gore anymore and all that kind of shit. Maybe some aesthetics of like cutting, like slit throats and cut, but that more is more kind of like, I talk about that a lot with like comparing shark attack wounds with fishnet and like, so like when you read essays about like even like Jean Renoir, there's lots of essays about how about cutting, like murder and throat cutting, and how it's like not fetishized, but how it's like how it's actually paralleled with aesthetic. Like when you look at like a woman in like a Wolford full bodysuit that has the different lines and everything. And there's a lot of like Weimar and Lustmord art and everything that kind of equates those same lines, but in injury, anyway, it's a whole other fucking thing to get into. It's like, because then you're getting into like, violence and all that, but but aesthetic and all that kind of shit. But anyways, what was I even fucking talking about? Well, that was.
I'm curious, like, is there any correlation between the time? Okay, so cinema is very time-based art form, inherently, and your work always has been. I don't want to say it's not. I mean, your work is very static. It's based on the movement within the static, so it's not 100% still or frozen, but it's very much more like a snapshot, I feel, or or.
Well, a really good example of this is Gabby Lassansi a long time ago told me about this movie called Gravita, and it's based on the classic story of an archaeologist or an art collector that finds like an ancient. I can't remember what they're called, like a pictograph, like a carving, but it's like 2-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And it's of a woman, of a beautiful woman, and she's taking a step, and she's in like a sandal, like she's barefoot, but she's taking I think in some versions she's wearing sandals, but in others she's just barefoot, and she's like taking a step. And he becomes so fucking obsessed with that image that he actually mentally transports himself back to those days. And I think it's in Pompeii. can't remember exactly. My brain's just turned off again for something so important to me. I'm trying to remember the details, but it's like, so he goes back to those days, and he actually finds her, and he watches her from a distance, like walk in front of her, and basically recreate that pictograph, like that carving, and there's an incredible woman director who's I can't remember her fucking name, but anyway, she made this I shouldn't even be talking about it because I can't remember her name, but anyways, we'll put it up on the screen or whatever. She made this incredible 20-minute, 30-minute film called Gravita, and all it is a super long form, slow motion, barefoot, stepping on like a plinth in clearly what's like an archaeological area, you know, like in Greece. And it's just her barefoot, like super close up. Like if I put my hand up, like, like literally like this, but like for 15 minutes.
Wow.
With kind of this, and it's all 35 mil, and it's kind of like this kind of haunting kind of droney music playing while it's happening. And then it'll switch shots, and then it'll be like from a little further away, but like the same thing, you know, and then finally it just shows like, I think this like overview, and then it shows her just walking down like this directed area, like this hallway, like outdoor kind of, and I was just kind of like, that is the best fucking film I've ever seen in my life. Like, there's nothing better. That's perfect, you know? And then I'm like, why is it so fucking powerful? Because then you find out the story. You look up the story, and it's like, that director encompassed everything in every part of that detailed long-form story into this, like, incredible 20-minute, 30-minute film, you know? Yeah. And then I'm like, what the power of it? So I remember I was telling Kayla Janice about it, because she's, you know, I'm always just like, yeah, I'm fucking over it. I'm just all I'm watching now is this Gravita movie, you know? And then she was like, so she's like, oh, it's really important to you. I said, you know, I'll have a look, right? And I said, yeah, Gabby told me about it. And anyway, and then she's like, so she watched it, and she was like, holy fuck, that's Zalowski's cameraman. Was the cameraman.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit. And then so, you know, he had probably a little bit of input, you know, like while they were doing it, right? Like, because it was cinematography by, blah, blah, I can't remember either. I just don't remember names. This is my new thing. It's sick. But yeah. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, that's insane.
Wow. That is.
You know?
That is. Is it the same cameraman who like did like On the Silver Globe and things like that with him?
Like Possession. And, you know, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it was Zalowski. Someone like that. Like someone that intense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the other movie that I'm, you know, that I kind of have reassessed recently that's dangerously influential to me is Chamanka, the Zalowski movie Chamanka.
Yeah.
And that's another one that I've just kind of declared as like, that's my life, you know, like Chamanka's my life.
Yeah.
In a dangerous way, you know, but an example of what you were just talking about is Gravita. If you want to see something that's distilled to a perfect example of cinema, that I could move to a desert island and that could just be my movie I have in my hands, it would be Gravita.
Gravita, like Gravita?
Yeah, DA. And then what was fucking, and then on top of that, what was surreal is that there's a couple of bootleg guys that are still around, or gray market guys that are still ahead of the game and offer movies that no one else has or knows about, which is awesome to know. It's like what we just talked about with the incapacitants. No matter how many fucking movies are coming out on all these labels, there's always going to be dudes that have more important shit. But anyways, one of them was the other version of Gravita that came out was based more on the story, like the book. And then so I'm like, hey, buying it, sign me up. whatever. And then he mailed it, and he's like, oh, and it stars Laura Antonelli as the woman. And I was like, you fucking kidding me? Like, what? You know, so I made like, actually, I'll send them to you for this video, but I made like 2 comparative images of the title cards with the images of the feet.
Yeah.
From both films.
Yeah.
Because they obviously recreate each other's. Anyway. So that was kind of like a life. So then I watched that movie and I was like, and I almost liked it just as much.
Wow.
You know, it's just my age or whatever, but it's just like, just that idea, you know? Anyways, like getting so fucking fixated on a woman's foot and the way she moves, the way she steps.
Yeah.
That I'm going to fucking mentally teleport myself back to like ancient Greece to like watch it happen, you know? Like,
that's amazing.
And then fall in love with her and then all the shit hits the fan, you know? Like,
yeah. Wow. That's crazy though, that you're constantly able to find all of these different.
I mean, that's the other beauty of being deep.
That...
Yeah, I mean, that's the other beauty of being deep in the arts scene and having colleagues. You know, they're just like, oh, I just watched this, and it's going to be your new favorite movie. You know?
Yeah.
How many times have I heard that, and it's been right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I mean, really recently. I reckon Kevin Rivard from Boat Robot was staying at my house, and we're just talking about movies and laughing and all this kind of shit. And he was just he's like looking at my movie wall, and he's like, "What's this movie, Amsterdam?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude, you haven't seen that yet?" He's like, "No," and he's like, because he's fucking like he's ahead of the game with all that shit. But I'm like, "You haven't seen it yet? Holy fuck!" So anyway, so I just told him, "Yeah, dude, first thing you do when you get home, watch Amsterdam." So he watched it, and then all I get is a text a few days later that says, "I don't want to be weird, man, but did you write that movie?" I was like, "I'm like, no, but you're not the first person." I've been told that so many times. I'm starting to think I did and just forgot. Yeah,
that's awesome. Funny. Yeah, you're. I think you're just going to keep zeroing in harder and harder and harder, like.
Yeah, but I mean, it's I think it's one of those, it's like one of those things where you're watching a movie and he's kind of like looking about someone getting older, and he's kind of looking back at his life and what's moved him and what's driven him and all this kind of shit. And it's just really special to have so much input from all these different arts that you can, really zero into what really is special to you, And then, anyway.
Killer, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, I think I've gone over most of my notes about things I wanted to talk to you about. What's Halloween to you?
For me?
Yeah.
It's as easy as I live in a neighborhood that's by this park called Douglas Park, so the area is kind of known that. And when I moved into my apartment there 20 years ago, I found out I got hit with a ton of bricks when I found out that I wanted to walk to the store that night, Halloween night, and I knew it was a nice neighborhood, but I wanted to walk to the store that night to get whatever, a chocolate bar and have a Halloween night. And I couldn't even walk down the fucking sidewalk because there was like literally thousands of kids out. And then all of Douglas Park was teenagers with fireworks.
Wow.
And I was just like, holy fuck. So I was new to the neighborhood, right? Yeah. So then I'm like, so I walked through it all, and all the houses are going off and all this shit's going on. I'm just like, I get to the store and I come back and I'm like, I was so mentally spent from the Halloween like input from that that I was like, that was the best Halloween of my life. Like it was so crazy, And then so that's all we do, my friends and I, every year now.
Just walk around.
It's so dumb. It's like, okay, we'll meet at 6:00 and we'll walk around for 2 hours
in costume.
That's how. Occasionally not me because I'm a dick, but it's like.
Occasionally, what? Occasionally not you, or occasionally, yeah?
No. Occasionally, my friends will.
but not
like
you.
Mike will always put on his fucking $1,000 Michael Myers outfit and lurk around. But anyways, every year that's Halloween. It's made my life incredibly easy because it's just like, but it's just so funny how I was. And then once at the store, I remember and it was right after my mind being blown of how crazy my neighborhood gets. And I remember some dude came in the store. And we were small talking. I'm like, oh, how was your kid's Halloween? He's like, oh, did the same thing we do every year. Went up to Douglas Park and trick-or-treated. And I'm like, oh, do you live around there? Like, nope. I'm like, what the fuck is this obsession with the area? But yeah, it's fucking awesome.
That's cool. But you don't like get yourself, you don't like decorate the house or the yard or like let kids trick-or-treat?
I've got my 4 or 5 Italian Gothic horror movies I'll watch every year, no matter what. Like, I wound up watching Castle of Blood.
Yeah, what can you list them? What are they?
If you want the best Halloween experience of your life, in one, Castle of Blood, the Italian movie, Gothic horror movie. I watched Black Sunday again last night. That's more of a go-to.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the other one? Invasion of the Vampires, the Mexican horror film.
Okay.
I'm talking full on cheap, not cheap, but like inspired haunted house, over the top. Mark of the Vampire is fucking insane too. Totally underrated.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I don't know. I have really weird affinity with Castle of Blood. There's some Octobers will all watch it like 20 times.
That's killer.
I can't stop watching it. It's like during Christmas now. I watch the Nutcracker twice a night. That's killer. I have like 15 different versions of it, so I just go from the start and then start again. Wow. I don't know, just... That's awesome. Yeah, and then of course in the midst of all this bullshit, what's completely ruined everything is watching classical ballet, right? Because classical ballet is 3 hours of perfectly tuned, deconstructed... I kind of hit me like a ton of bricks when I figured out that every act is just a perfectly tuned, deconstructed, image. So it's like it with minimal plot and no dialogue. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, so these are perfect then. Yeah. So I watch a lot of that. Yeah. Outside of Halloween, but Halloween you're sticking Halloween, with... I just go right back to the fucking Italian Gothic horror, whatever's got, lots of DIY graveyards, lots of Mexican horror. Killer. Yeah, it's funny. That's awesome. And when people try to watch something else, it's always fucking, they're not allowed in the house. How annoyed do you get by people being like, oh, you're a horror fan, let's watch this, or do you like this? I mean, I'm sure you have very specific and very refined taste in horror. I'm sure you get tons of people trying to... Yeah, but I mean, most people in my circles, we just all kind of know. But no, there's people that come in. I mean, the only time I'll take a crazy recommendation is if someone will be like, oh, I watched this new movie that really fucked me up. Something out of Europe or something. I'll probably, I'll be like, oh, I want that. Yeah. I might check that out, but again, I don't know. I'm so spent on cinema. I'm almost completely burned out on it that I can't do it anymore. Interesting. It sounds weird, but I don't know if it's so now I just do it completely for myself, so it's a lot different than it used to be. It used to be lots of running around, talking to lots of film buddies, lots of friends, festival, all this kind of shit. Right. But I just got so burned out on it, and the whole, I got lots of colleagues that make a living off it, but all the drama and the whole professional fan scene gets really, really gnarly too, and I get to hear a lot about it, and I'm just like, what are you doing? What do you mean drama? How a lot of people make a living off being a fan nowadays, so it's sure, the 8th book about Lucio Fulci, sure, the 20th book about this or that.
Is there a lot of online stuff? Like, I mean, I know that, like, there's a whole world that's opened up with the YouTubers, you know, being.
Oh, it's funny too, and it's like, and you don't even know it. Like, I can't even get into it, but it's like all those fucking people hate each other's guts. It's fucking amazing, and it's just like they're all like fucked up ladder climbers.
Yeah,
and they're literally just professional fans.
You mean of the in the cinema world?
Yeah, like the writers, like the reviewers and shit.
Weird.
You know, the people that write all the books and stuff.
Weird.
You know, because now there's this whole craze. I mean, I'm digging myself a hole, but luckily I'm you know, friends with like, you know, like Kayla Janice and like, like
the good ones.
But it just kind of like, you know, where they're actually finding new things, but it just gets to the point where you're just like, holy fuck, man, just give me my Craig Ledbetter European Trash Cinema catalog and leave me alone, you know?
Yeah.
Damn, there's a new giant hardcover about fucking whatever, and I'm just like, what's he talking about in it? You know, like, nah, it's done. We're done. Now it's not like, oh, harsh noise, but, you know.
I guess it's like content creation / you know, people try to make. People have realized that you can make like a personality for yourself and market yourself and make money by having some sort of opinion on stuff. And I guess
that's exactly what it is, right? And
the clamor to do that oftentimes when they don't have anything to really.
And when someone's incredibly Johnny-come-lately, and it just gets really embarrassing, and they're reading shit wrong, they didn't know this. You know, it's like anything. It's like what we just talked about with harsh noise for the last 2 hours. You know? Yeah.
Posers.
But again, I don't want to dig myself too deep of a hole, but it's like, all I know is there's like literally 10,000 movies at my house that I have to like trudge through every day. Most of them aren't even, they're all bootlegs because I value those a lot more than new shit, you know, and it's like, because I had to work for those.
Yeah. Are they worth money?
Just somebody. You know, if I ever had to purge all of my fucking movies, I'd just keep the bootlegs.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe the Blu-ray of fucking, I don't know, something. You can kind of tell how burned I am on it. Like,
do you ever see yourself getting burned out on harsh noise?
No, because it's, for me, harsh noise is, because a movie is like what we just talked about. It's like it's a completely an entertaining entity. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I could talk about Gravita for 20 years, but I couldn't talk about fucking Lucio Fulci's Zombie for 20 years. I mean, I could talk about the way they did the clay makeup, deconstructed faces and shit. But anyways, but it's like, that's the thing. I think it's the arts, you know, like, quote unquote high art is always going to be the most, you know, like, it's just never, it's not framed in a bunch of preconceived techniques and building tools, you know.
It's maybe more complex in terms of what's gone into it, like technically or whatever, but
not
more
even
limited.
There's more meat, you know what I mean? It's like okay, let's have a round table discussion about the new Coldplay record, and then let's have a roundtable discussion about that fucking Haters DVD. Right. You know, like, there's the meat. You know, like, Coldplay might be a weird example, but you know what I mean?
It's a good example, no. Yeah. For sure.
And, you know, and it's just like, and, you know, like some one-hit wonder fucking music band or movie, or a one-hit wonder movie, it just doesn't have the staying power that a completely fucking focused minimal sound has. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the minimalism like makes it so much more transcendental than you eventually. I mean, even if you do talk about all the things of that Fulci movie or whatever, there's probably a lot to talk about. But at some point, you've talked about it all, and there's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's always more. Like, as we found out, because there's 10 coffee table books about Lucio Fulci, you know. But it's like, yeah, for me personally, I'll always be able to just trudge forward with art a lot more than something that's like made to entertain, you know?
Sure.
You know, but luckily there's directors obviously that like don't give a fuck about Like, I mean, Roland made porn to pay for his movies.
Right.
Right? Which is pretty fucking admirable, because that means that his movies are getting 110% of what he wanted to make.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of trying to do both in one movie.
Right.
Like, I'm going to make a super entertaining action film to make money to pay for my next one. It's like, no, I'm going to make a bunch of porn.
Yeah.
Same actors.
Yeah. And
then that'll pay for this crazy art film.
Yeah.
The art horror movie that maybe not a lot of people will like as much, you know?
Yeah.
But again, I think that's what I remember of when I like hung out with him and talked to him and got to and back in the day. But,
cool.
You know,
that's
awesome. The most famous quote ever is Joe D'Amato. He said, "Porn is a lot easier to make because making people horny is a lot easier than making people scared with a horror movie."
That's true. That's very true. That's one of the easiest things. Yeah. That's for sure.
That was one of my funny, raddest quotes. Like, why do you only make porn now?
He said that to you?
No. I was reading an interview of his. And they're like, why do you only make porn? He's like, because it's way easier to make people horny than it is to make them scared.
That's awesome. Cool, man. Well, I'm going to let you get to work.
All right. Yeah. I got to fucking, the other guy's arriving any minute. So.
Really appreciate talking with you again.
Yeah, fucking sick.
Super sick.
I'll email you a bunch of imagery.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And hopefully I got some names right. So
for sure. Yeah. And we'll square that away. All right, man. Well, take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, dope.
Bye.
Bye.